Hey guys, welcome to CraterMania. I'm your host, the man they call Crater, and I'd like to welcome you all back to How I Got Into Wrestling. This is the show where we learn about how wrestling fans from all over the world give their perspective of how they got into wrestling. And on today's show, we have a very special guest. He's a wrestling fan and a horror fan, just like myself. He's also a professional artist here in the state of Kentucky, who is mostly known for his horror and wrestling art. But he also works with all types of genres, and he's a super talented guy. I've known him for going on close to 20 years now, but I haven't seen him in a very long time. So I'm super glad to have him here on the show. So allow me to introduce at this time, entering the CraterMania arena, Dick Starr. If I can get him on here. Oh, there he is. How's it going, man?
Pretty good. How you doing, man?
Uh, Doing great. Glad to have. It's been a long time since I've actually seen you. And I know I seen a post I think a while back or a comment on something on Facebook that you haven't done conventions in a long time. You kind of stopped doing them. Is that true?
Yeah, probably. It's been almost 10 years.
I guess we could talk a little bit about that before we get into the show, because like that's how I met you. I met you probably 2009, I think 2009, 2010.
That sounds
But
about right, yeah.
um, one of the first times I remember talking to you, it was at the Fright Night Film Festival in Louisville, Kentucky, and it was like when they kind of had you and a bunch of other vendors in this little odd area, like in a lobby of a hotel or something, and
Yeah.
and it was
That was,
extreme. I remember it was extremely hot,
oh yeah,
in there
that
too.
was the third, that was the final straw for them. But yeah, that I remember that show well. I don't think it was heat stroke, but I was throwing up in the bathroom on the second
Oh
and
my
third day,
gosh.
like
I
from the
think I
heat.
rem I think I remember you telling me that too, like, when I was talking to you at your table, like, you remember you saying you threw up because it
Well,
was so hot.
I was going through T-shirts too because I was sweating right through them, and people were coming in to say hi, and then like, man, I gotta go. Like, they moved all the celebrities out. Like,
Yeah,
it was
because I
pretty
remember
bad.
I think that was the year they had, like, I think Jeremy Bullock was close to your table, like, the guy that played, Boba Fett in Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, and then
Uh,
so was Margot Kidder. She was directly
that
across
that
from me,
that's
and then
right, yeah.
Jim Kelly was at the end, and like they moved all of them into their own like hotel rooms. They got like air conditioned like little hotel like
That's
little
right, because I
rooms.
do remember Margot Kidder being in a hotel room, because like, I couldn't
Yeah.
at one point, I couldn't find where she was, and my buddy was like, "Oh, I just met her. She's in this random hotel room." I'm like, "I I don't know where that is," so I just
You're
kinda
like, do
gave
I want
up.
to know this story? Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was yeah, that was rough. But yeah, that was you said the last time or the first time that
That was
we
the f
met.
I think that was the first one of the first times I ever talked to you at
Okay,
conventions,
were
because
you
I
not
think,
at Scarefest before that?
let's see. If that was the one in 2010, then yeah, I was at Scarefest in 2009 because we're it's at the end of the year, but I don't remember if I spoke to you at that one or
I
not.
gotcha. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I remember talking to you at like a full moon in Nashville, like early on
yeah,
too, because like there was a Dead Dick Hammer. You'd like painted one of his guitars.
yeah.
I think you had it on display at your booth.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I think I still have a photo of that somewhere, like on my Facebook somewhere. But like I just remember like being super impressed with your art very early on. Meeting you and just like you were always doing like the different celebrities. So and so is dead, and I think one
Yeah.
one of the first ones I picked up was the Hulk Hogan is dead, where it's like his skin just kind of like racked up on the wall and all that.
Yes.
So so I remember
Man.
that one, and I've got several of your pieces that like kind of scattered all around this room somewhere, like in different folders and stuff. Because I've got too much shit, man. So
No,
I need to
same.
get I need to get more like I guess just categorize my stuff. So,
Well, yeah, but
but
there's only so much wall space too, and there's only,
that's true. That's very true. Because like I only had like for my stuff, I only have like this one room in our entire
yeah,
house.
yeah.
So I got to be very decisive on what I want to display. And I mean, I switch stuff in and out all the time though, because I don't always
Right.
keep the same way, like, but except for like a few things, it's kind of our mainstays. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like, And if you don't mind, man, I just wanted to kind of like showcase a few of my favorite pieces that you've done.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
just
totally.
to everybody that's watching. So first, I'll show this one. You just let's see if I can pull it up here. Move that. You didn't do that. Okay, so this is one you just recently did for the was it the Squared Circle Expo?
Yeah, that was Squared Circle Expo 5.
And I love that, man, because it's this reminiscent of the old Royal Rumble 1990 and 91,
That
art on the VHS covers.
Yeah, that was all Ed Gonzalez's idea. Like he had that poster in mind, sent me the poster and was like, this is exactly what I'm wanting. And but then he just gave me the talent lineup, for the show. And so he plotted that whole thing out.
So what was all the talent that's shown here in that piece of art? Was that like just his choice, or was that your choice of
That was his choice. These were all wrestlers that were going to be on the actual show, like not just at the convention, but they run
Oh, okay, I
wrestling
see.
shows.
The actual wrestling show that they
Yeah,
did during the weekend.
and these are the two posters I've done are for that the wrestling shows at the event. So this was for that Rumble. I forget what the title of the Rumble was, but that was for that. So it was everyone on the card for that night.
And I
Um,
love that Jack Vaughn is in there too. So
Yeah, and I love getting to draw some of those guys, like some people that I've followed for years on just the indies or seen even at a couple of shows, at Ohio Valley Wrestling or
mhm.
on GCW or on IWTV. You see them popping up, and it's really cool. Uh, yeah, it was pretty fun getting asked to do that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's super cool. I've seen like several other like kind of homages to the old Royal Rumble art like that, but I think this has got to be like one of my favorite just because of the selection of the wrestlers that's on it. You got the headbangers, you got Cardona, you got Nick Nemeth, you got he's I know he was Heath Slater. What's he going by
I think
nowadays?
it's just Heath.
Just Heath,
I think
and
he's
then
just Heath. Yeah.
you got you got Brian here, and just I mean Jack. It's
You
awesome,
got
man. I
Jake
love that.
Omen, and yeah, there's Crazy
Is this
Steve on
is this
there.
Or is that Crazy Steve? For some reason I was thinking that was Brian Cage for a second.
No, no, well, yeah, he does he does look a little like that. Um, I mean, in the drawing. But then there's Lord Crew and Brian Myers.
Brian Myers, yeah.
Then you got Freya the Slaya.
Oh yeah. Also, is she still? Because I haven't watched OVW in a while. Is she still the women's champion in OVW, or did she
I could
lose
not.
it?
I couldn't tell you if she's the champion or not. Like that's another one I've fallen off. I haven't watched the last couple months.
Mm. Um. Yeah, I think the last time I was watching OVW was around the time that the referee, that controversy with the referee where he had the seizure and all that. So I
Yeah,
don't
I
know,
mean,
like, if anything came of that or not, because I've not really kept up with that. But that was, coincidentally the last time I was watching around that time.
well, okay, yeah, I had stopped before that, and then I saw it when it was everywhere. It
Mhm.
was just a terrible situation, obviously.
Oh yeah, definitely, and
But I
just
mean, as far as I know, they're going strong. They're still weekly, television, and they're still pumping out stars too. I mean, people coming in and out and coming from there. Like Cash Flow. He's been on 3 seasons and filming the fourth of Tiger King, or not Tiger King, Tulsa King. God,
Tulsa with Sylvester Stallone. That
yeah,
Have you
yeah,
watched that show?
I
That's a
have. I saw
great.
the first. Yeah,
It's great, man.
that's the thing. My father-in-law was really into it, and he mentioned it, and then it was like right after the first or second episode had aired, I guess, that he mentioned it to me, and then I saw Cash Flow posting about it,
Hmm.
and I was like, "What?" And so now I got to see this, and it was yeah, I got hooked, and so I've seen. I just saw that there's a fourth season being filmed, I guess, but
Awesome.
I'm mostly caught up on the third season. I don't know why I didn't
I've still
finish
not
it.
watched season 3. I've only watched the first 2 so far. I need to get caught up, because and I had a similar like kind of introduction to it as well. My dad had gotten the first season on DVD for Christmas one year, and like he was showing it to me. He's like, "Have you watched this show?" He's like, "I know you're a big Sylvester Stallone fan." I was like, "No, I didn't. I didn't even know about it, honestly." And
Right.
then like I went and watched it. I was like, "Holy shit, this is a really good show! Like it has a good cast. I mean, like the story is just fantastic."
Yeah.
Um, but I guess I want to go show a few more of your. These are the art cards that you have done. So I loved it. I had to show this. This is one of my favorite ones you've done. Um, because well, I'm biased because I love Dusty Rhodes. He's one of my favorite
Oh
of all
man.
time.
Yeah.
So love that one. Of course, Sabu. I love anything ECW, and I have a few ECW ones that I pulled up here. So look, Sabu, Terry Funk,
Wow, man, I
you
haven't
know,
seen some of these in a long time.
the new Jack, and I seen like
Yeah.
they just were shut today at the convention or whatever you want to call it, the expo that they're having at WrestleMania, the WWE World. They were showing off some of the new action figures made by Mattel, and they showed off the new Jack figure that's coming.
Oh, whoa! I haven't even heard about that.
Yeah, I was
That's pretty
honestly
awesome.
shocked by that too. And like he comes with a trash can. I think there's a kendo stick inside the trash can. He's also got a,
Awesome.
a staple gun. So I was like, they went all out because this is
He
pretty
comes with a
pretty
little
cool.
knife, you
I
know.
I, I
No,
wonder if
that's amazing. I'm gonna have to look that
yeah,
up.
yeah, and I was like, holy crap! That has to be like an influence from Paul Heyman or something. Like I've heard several people like that works within WWE say that they have pushed to try to get New Jack in the WWE Hall of Fame, which is hilarious.
Oh, the way that they're doing, what is it, legacy inductees now?
Yeah,
That I think that would be the best case scenario, or that would be the only way I feel like he would make it in there. Because
right.
he's such a hot rod of like controversy anyway. I mean, you can't, or lightning rod, I should say. Like you got a Dark Side of the Ring episode on him. You've got
Oh,
all the notorious moments that I mean, like pick a notorious moment. Some wrestlers are involved in one or two ever, and he's got a best of list. Like
it's
I
just shocking, like, after things like that, and then just, the interviews he's done, the shoot interviews, and the stuff that was, like, on, I don't know if you've ever watched the documentary Forever Hardcore, but, there's a lot of, like, several segments with him being interviewed in that documentary, and I'm just really shocked that WWE has even decided to work with his estate to have him involved in any kind of WWE merchandise.
Hey, yeah, I mean, maybe enough time is removed too, to where you can kind of almost uh, cartoonize, or where you can boil somebody down to a caricature, and you can kind of make the action figure of somebody. I mean, look, a few years ago, I did one of these little cards of Funkos that I just thought we would never ever get, and one of the first ones I ever did was Art the Clown, because I was like, they're never going to do an Art the Clown Funko, and
Oh
now
god.
how many of the like
There's, like, multiple, and they have, like, their own Terrifier, like, action figure line, I think that Trick or
of
Treat Studios
course,
does, and just,
of
like, oh my
course.
god, it's blown up, dude.
That's why it's like, look, it can be an R-rated property, but it can still be done in a way that a toy is palatable, and what was another one recently? Oh, when they brought the Punisher in, what in the commercial or the ad for the new Spider-Man,
Oh, yeah,
like
right.
they're bringing an R-rated franchise or an R-rated IP into PG-13 at most property, and so I don't know, like
It's
it can be done.
interesting. It's almost kinda like if you when you compare, like, have you ever seen when they do, like, the Archie comics team ups, like the Punisher
The
and
punish, yes,
Archie?
totally. Yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
it's kinda like that, but in a more of a cinematic sense, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
feel I feel like if for nostalgic reasons, plus WWE is smart. They know that they have that the fan base is an old fan base as well. It's based on youth. It's it thrives on young kids becoming fans, and then becoming lifelong fans, but the lifelong fans they're still around, and so that's why you still get pops for somebody like RVD when they show up or whatever. They
right.
still remember, like, the crowd still chants ECW when Paul Heyman's out there, and Paul Heyman, is a god who has done so much more than ECW,
Yeah.
and they still chant for ECW. So that's where it's like
It
if
is. It's
they
like if and I know ECW is that's the easy thing to chant for and stuff because like that's really kind of what he didn't really make a name for himself just with ECW. I mean, he was doing like the Paul E stuff in WCW before ECW.
right
But really people like recognize him most, I think, as far as his legacy goes with ECW.
for
But
sure.
yeah, it goes far beyond that. You know, if you look at the stuff that he's worked with OVW, he was the head booker for OVW for a while. You know, he helped bring CM Punk into the WWE when they didn't want him. So it's just yeah, there's so much. Paul Heyman is I'm such a huge fan of his.
Oh,
Just
same.
absolute genius, one of the greatest minds, if not the greatest mind to ever exist in professional wrestling.
Oh, it's been on display insanely over the last few years even. I mean, every
Mhm.
promo, there's nothing wasted. The guy comes out with bloodshot eyes to cut the right
Oh
promo, and then
God,
a
I
week
love
later
that.
he looks cleaned up and he's business ready to present somebody else, and it's yeah, guys still cutting like legendary promos
Yeah,
weekly.
he's so committed, dude. Like this far into the game, it's very admirable for sure.
Hmm.
Um, but and just wanted to show like I had to show this Bret Hart because Bret's one of my all time favorites, and of course the Stone Cold as well from the WrestleMania 13 match. Uh, and this last one I want to show, maybe one of my absolute favorite pieces you've ever done because I vividly remember this moment.
Oh,
And that's from the St. Valentine's Day Massacre
the
match
cage, yeah,
against
yeah.
Stone Cold when Big Show first debuted. Just I always thought
Hmm.
that like I know Vince is a really shitty person in reality, but like that was one of the most iconic moments for
Oh, it's
me
great. Yeah, of
in the
course.
Attitude Era. Just like it's like almost like he's crying, but he's covered in blood. He's like the double bird. It's like
No,
it's
he it sucks where the legacy has gone, because of what we know now. But the frustrating part is there were a lot of like a lot of memories and a lot of things that never would have happened,
fantastic.
and some of the best moments involve it. I was rewatching Royal Rumble like 2005 a couple nights ago, and I completely forgot that was the one where he tore his quads, because
Oh, with
Batista and
Batista and
Cena went
Cena.
over at the same. And man, just I don't know. There's so many moments now that now they have a different feel, but at the same time, you're like, man, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty wild.
Have you ever heard Edge tell that story about the because look, he was like I think in the final three because he had just got eliminated and
Okay,
he was walking to the back as he seen Vince just come out and blow by him and he was like, oh shit. Like he was he knew that he thought someone was getting fired. Like, but and just I mean, it's a possibility that someone could have, but I think like Vince kind of was overwhelmed after what happened to his quads once he entered the ring, and he
but the
was more
fact that
focused on that more than anything.
man, he no sold it. Like it's he sat there with his hands on his hips, like looking around mad, and then like
I know that's
it, that's
impressive.
not
Really,
human. That's not human. Like,
he had. I mean, and I've said this to people, specialists. I don't know if this is the case or not, but I was like, he had to been just like hyped up on so much adrenaline or something. You
cocaine
know,
and a bunch
maybe
of other
whatever.
thing. Who knows? Yeah, but he's a monster in more
Oh,
ways than one. But
yeah,
he's
absolutely.
yeah, I don't. That's still one of those baffling moments.
So I guess we'll go ahead and jump into the interview part of this now. And I'll start this off with you know, same question I ask everyone in these interviews. How did you get into wrestling?
Um, man, growing up, I did not watch it, so I grew up with my father who, you know, said it was fake. Yeah, anytime pro wrestling came up, it's fake. No, 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 it's fake. And it was like, oh, okay. And so I just never paid it any mind. It was something I just kind of scoffed at for a long time. But then I was in college, and a couple of my close friends were like in the middle of moving, and I had cable. They didn't have their cable hooked up yet, and they asked if they could watch Raw at my place, and I was like, yeah, man, that's fine, but I'm probably going to be making fun of it because it's fake and stuff. And they were like, yeah, all right, man. I mean, we laugh too. We whatever. And so within, I don't know, the first 20 minutes, I saw somebody take a steel chair shot to the head, and it was unprotected. This is like 2000, so
Oh,
or
okay.
1990, yeah, early 2000. And so I I remember immediately going, "What is that chair made out of?" And they were like, "It's a steel chair." And I was like, "No, no, 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 no. Like how? Like what are they hitting? What's the part?" And then they had to explain to me that no, this is what they do. And so then I see the blood, and I'm like, "Well, how are they doing the blood?" And he's like, "What do you mean, dude? Like they cut themselves." And I was, "What?" That by 30 minutes, 45 minutes into the show, I had seen, that my buddies knew who were coming down to the ring just by the music popping or just by something being said, whatever. And man, I was hooked by the end of that episode. I'm like, when are we doing this again? Like when's the next one? And they were like, well, we can watch Thursday if you want. I'm like, say what? Like in the same week. So it was just one of those things that like just became, it was almost instantaneous the second I saw it, because I was really into comic books. I was in art school to do illustration and sequential art. And so to me, it just felt like these are all comic book characters. These are all like video game characters.
Yeah.
Everyone comes out with their own outfit, with their own catchphrase, with their own special move, with their own music, with their like it. I don't know. It was pretty awesome. And then the crowd was like a part of it. So
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite things, like, about wrestling, for years now. Like, I didn't really pay much attention to it as a kid, but as I got older, around the time I was in high school, I started, paying attention more to the wrestling crowds, because I was like, and I think a lot of people wouldn't even realize this, but, like, I think more and more people started to realize it around the COVID era of wrestling, when they were just wrestling inside these empty arenas, and it just didn't have that same feeling because the crowd was gone.
yeah,
And but I started kind of picking up on that around high school, because this is when they would have like a whole sea of like crowd, fan signs in the crowd. That's all you would see. Like some people, you couldn't even see people in the crowd. There were so many
right.
signs. And,
Yeah.
and I was like, holy shit. Like, I would take note of that. I'd be like, I mean, if that wasn't there, this whole product would be entirely different. And
Hmm.
seeing that firsthand, and it just like I almost like during the COVID era with there being no fans in the crowd, and when WWE was just doing like that big like screen with people like watching
Yeah,
when
the
they're
Thunderdome.
the Thunderdome, it almost, I mean, it came close to taking me out of wrestling for a bit because it just didn't feel the same. And like I kind of had the same experience like with my dad growing up. You because you said with your friends you were asking them about like what's the chair made of, and where they get the blood or all that. My dad would say like, oh, that's just like they carry blood packets with them, and he was like, oh, the chairs are made of plastic or rubber or
Right, right.
no, like my dad was always just. I don't know if he was just doing that. I need to ask him sometime, but like I don't know if he was just doing it just to kind of like aggravate me because he knew I liked it. Because he would do that with like several things. If he knew that I liked something, he would kind of like make comments about it, like, "Oh, that's stupid. You don't need to be watching that. You need to like that stuff." But he's just playing around or whatever. But
Yeah, just kind of, giving you the business.
but yeah, I mean, my dad was the same way, and but the thing is with that, like, I don't know if he was playing with it. I think he legitimately thought like they were just this is kind of like almost like a type of magic that the wrestling, business was doing to try to like any way you would see like a movie or a TV show
Hmm.
where they
Hmm.
kind of do stunts and stuff that way. It was just the same way with wrestling, which I've always compared to for years. But when people say, "Oh, wrestling's fake," why do you like that shit? I'm like, well, why do you like to watch movies or TV shows or anything? It's just
Hmm.
the same thing. It's just kind of another form of art. So, and
Well, and fake versus scripted. You know what I mean? Like scripted is something that, okay, cool. I know what I'm supposed to go out and do.
exactly,
But if it's fake, I mean, you wouldn't have stuntmen doing things. It wouldn't take five
exactly.
hours and eight people to rig up one scene for a guy to be able to do something superhuman that would not be able, possible otherwise. Whereas in wrestling, if they're told, okay, then at this point you're going to go off the top of this through these tables out into the crowd, whatever. Those are human bodies. flying onto other human bodies through a table, and
Absolutely.
they get one take and it's in front of everyone. And if they get hurt, it's in front of everyone and it's on television. And if they mess up, it's in front of everyone on television.
Mhm.
Like there's high stakes. There's there's that connectivity, like you were mentioning, with the crowd, the instant reaction. I mean, that dictates a match sometimes, or at least moves and moments. Like sometimes if for instance, when Stone Cold would do something and the crowd would say, "One more time, one more," and then he'd like look around, he'd throw the middle finger, and then bam, another stunner. And that wasn't necessarily in the plan,
Yeah,
but
it's like ad libbed. Yeah.
and both of them were like, "Let's do it." You know what I mean? Like, all right, give me another one. And it's kind of one of those things where the audience plays a huge part, and scripted or not, it's definitely not fake. That's the word that really, like, nowadays when I hear it, I'm like, oh no, because I don't want to be one of those guys that's like, well, technically, but in my head, I'm immediately like, that's okay. Yep, I get it. I understand their thought process, and it's an age old argument, but you know,
Yeah, and
it's
and
not
I know that, was it Tom Brady? He made comments here recently about
right.
wrestling, but then again, I don't know if that was something that he's gonna be later involved with WWE or anything. I mean, you never know
Exactly.
nowadays. There's so much celebrity involvement now in wrestling. It's like you don't know. Like there was just something, I think it was just today that happened. Jay Uso was on like this podcast, and there was a rapper named Cameron or something on there,
Hmm.
and like they got into this fight during the podcast, and then I was like, "Oh, is this legit? Like, is this a shoot? What's going on here?" And then, like, it wasn't maybe 20 minutes later, like that rapper put out a tweet. It's like, "I'll see you at WrestleMania, Jey Uso," or whatever.
Oh my
I'm like,
God, they're still popping them onto the card.
"Yeah,"
Like,
and I was like, "Oh shit!" And then just I think it was yesterday they announced on night two, Joe Jonas is going to be doing the national anthem.
what is
Yeah,
that? What the wrestling crowd was demanding? And listen,
yeah, exactly.
like, man, again, I know I don't get to call any of the shots. I'm just a fan. I'm just watching,
Mhm.
like everyone else. But my God, it's been insane watching TKO kind of do what they've done.
It's
Like
interesting for sure. I'll say
it's
that. That's the nicest way I can say it. It's interesting.
man, it's made me, like every pay. I went to every service. Like my friends and I would get together for the old pay-per-views. I mean, up until they got the network, we would pitch in and we would go to one of our houses and we would all like order pizza, hot wings, whatever the hell, and then we would watch the pay-per-views. But then the
Mhm.
network came out and we were like, cool, and we all got that. Then it went to Peacock and we're like, damn, all right, we all got that. And with the ESPN thing, I'm like, man, at
Right.
least Peacock had movies and shows, and you got other
Yeah.
things. ESPN does not interest me in the least, and I'm not paying $30. I never paid $30 for Peacock, and again, baffling. That they would go back to that method, and it's just changed the way I even look at their pay-per-views now. I'm like, do I
Yeah,
even bother going on to stream this? Like,
and there are ways around that too. Like, of course, in the US, we have to have ESPN to watch the pay-per-views or the premium live events, as they like to call them
right,
now.
right, yeah.
Um,
Even though
but
you're paying more to view them.
if you do get a VPN though, like you can kind of change your location and you can just watch all that stuff
Sure,
on
sure.
Netflix. If you want, to use Netflix. I have Netflix obviously, so I watch Raw and stuff on there. But
Same.
like but I don't even like do the VPN thing. Like I just share my buddy, he's a big sports fan because I love wrestling, but I'm not like big into other sports, football. I watch a little bit of basketball, but that's about it when it comes to other sports. But he's a big sports fan, so he has an ESPN, like, a streaming account. So we thankfully, they're still like, we're able to share that,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
know a lot of streaming services are starting to kind of, crack down on like sharing accounts and all that. So I'm hoping it lasts at least for this weekend for now.
I think it will. Yeah, I mean, I I don't really know many people who are paying, the full price, like other than big sports fans. So
Mhm.
that's where it makes sense. Is if you're already like, hey, I watch football, I watch basketball, I watch baseball, I watch it all. Then
Yeah.
of course you're going to have the ESPN
Yeah,
Plus
that's great
package.
for you.
That makes absolute sense. But WWE is one of those where I like they cater to a crowd that almost never even got into sports, but this is like
Exactly.
entertainment. It's athletic, sure, and it's violent, but it's also entertainment, and um, it's there's storylines. There's so many other things that people can watch, and then they can catch up on, and then there's just never an off season. I don't know. It's a very different thing.
It's just, I mean, you can tell it's definitely a TKO decision, because like the CEO of, which is, I think his name's like Ari Emanuel.
Hmm.
He's also the agent for Pat McAfee, and
Yep.
Pat McAfee and his kind of influence when it comes to sports and his podcast that he does on ESPN, all that. I'm sure it all kind of revolves around that same circle of people, that just are like, hey, it would be a good idea if we get the WWE involved in this and so forth. Which, you know, that might be for them financially, that might be a good, for them as a company, but for the fans, it kind of sucks who are just, into wrestling, and just are forced to kind of like, well, subscribe to this and we're only going to watch the wrestling part of it as opposed to whatever else is on there. Cause
Yeah.
I don't watch anything else on there other than WWE. So,
I'm kind of surprised that WWE doesn't go back to having their own network. I mean, they kind of pioneered when they were told when they were trying to shop around the cable channel originally, and then
mhm.
they kept getting told no, so they're like, the hell with it. We're going to do our own streaming service. And then it took off. And so I think people would go right back to paying $15 if they got the entire catalog again and they got the entire, I mean, there was custom or exclusive shows and things like that.
The only downside to that, though, now with all the streams, especially the stuff from 20, 30 years ago, is just how much stuff is edited out. And not I'm not talking just like the music.
No, you're right though.
I, I'm talking about like just actual moments, from the shows, and it's just a lot of how the world works nowadays with cancel culture and all that type of stuff. It's really kind of a lot of companies are starting to crack down and change their policies on different things. But it's sad because like, and I'll use the DX as the nation as an example. um from what I understand, and I've talked to multiple people like at conventions and other wrestling shows that were guests that came in. Like I've talked to the Godfather about it, and he, from what he says, like everybody, no one was offended by that. Everyone loved it. They thought everybody was back there laughing their asses off when it happened. And he completely disagreed with them, taking that out because he feels like that was a very important moment for that feud back in the day.
I get that. Yeah. I mean, look, they when it was originally on the network though, like before when it even went to Peacock, did they edit that out?
No, it was on the network, but like
Okay, because
when they got moved over to Peacock is when
right,
they
right.
started
Yes,
removing all of
because I
that.
remember the network being a godsend for watching all the old episodes. And I mean, I
Mhm.
started back like a few years before I ever even got introduced so that I could catch up on some things and actually witness like, certain people getting their start and man, they were they just played the disclaimer. Right at the beginning of the
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
every episode. It was like, look, different time, different place. We don't.
Yeah, because I
This is
think
not the views and.
close to every WCW Nitro episode that featured Chris Benoit on the show,
Oh,
they would they
absolutely,
would
yeah.
they would always run that disclaimer ahead of each
Oh, yeah.
episode or whatever. But
Same with the WWE stuff. Like all the SmackDowns that he was on. I mean, they would play the disclaimer for the pay per
mhm.
views. I mean, and then they had like there was not. They haven't gone as far as to censor like blood and stuff on like Peacock, right? Because I feel like I
I
still
don't know him
see.
because it's not even on there anymore on Peacock, I
Well,
don't believe.
right, right. Now it's on Netflix. At least a lot of it. Um, I just don't know what they're censoring though, because I know Netflix is censoring the crowd on live episodes of Raw now. So why,
Now,
like,
I know that I have watched. I don't know if it was on. Um, I don't know if it was on Peacock or if I watched it on Netflix. I think it was on Peacock. But I was watching some older episodes from. It was probably late '90s, I would say, of Raw, and there was some instances where they would have blood in the match, and they would either blur it or they would change the color to black and white.
I remember that. Now, see, I remember, especially if it was from a pay per view and they were showing like footage, or if it was from previous footage. Now on Raw, wouldn't it air originally though, like on the episode before that? Like if they were showing highlights or replays, it was in black and white.
Mm.
But wouldn't it air? Or was this before they were live?
Well, I know that at least one of the episodes, like I said, I can't remember what year it was from. It was in the late '90s, early 2000s. It was like not a replay like the following week, but it was like on the actual episode during a match. They would like blur,
Okay, okay, got you, got
or
you.
like
That
when
was
they would do
before
like,
I watched.
or if they were doing like chair shots, connecting to the head, they would like do a little splice there to where you would not see the chair shot connect with the head.
Right. I do remember that whenever they showed video packages of pay-per-views that we did, in the early 2000s, or when I was starting, it would show highlights from the night before, and you would see somebody, and then they would freeze frame it, and then you would just see the
Yeah.
result of like somebody laying down. They wouldn't even show the 3 count. They would show the ref like go to dive, and then it would freeze frame, and you'd hear the 1, 2, 3, and then it would just cut to the picture of the person holding the belt.
Right.
But yeah, I always remember SmackDown whenever they were replaying what happened on Raw being black and white if it was blood,
Hmm.
or if it was pay per view, black and white, or whatever it was. But then I remember, I just feel like they got away with a whole lot of stuff. I don't know. It looks different, when you go back and watch old episodes, even just with all the flash bulbs going off, during big moments or big spot, or like during a moment when everyone knows the finisher's coming. Like when The Rock goes to drop the elbow, pop, 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 pop. There's like millions
It's
of
a
flash bulb, not
It's a
millions.
very generational thing. Like I think, and I'm so happy that I'm a part of that generation that got to experience so much of that live during the Attitude Era. And I know a lot of people like more younger generations that maybe didn't get into wrestling until like the mid 2000s or late 2000s, and didn't really get to experience that firsthand. You'll go back and watch it, like, oh, it's awesome. But like to actually have been in the moment when those were happening. This is when the internet was still very new, and
Yeah,
that you couldn't find out anything you possibly wanted about the wrestlers or what was going to happen. At the time,
yeah.
you just kind of had to just watch and just kind of like go with it, like as you were watching a TV show or something for the first
That's
time.
it. Yeah, I didn't even know about dirt sheets until like 4 years into me watching wrestling. Like I
Yeah,
didn't know what like the rumor sites or anything, because again, with the internet being what it was in 2000, 2001, I just tuned in every week. I'm like, well, this is how you find out, and then
that's such a great time to get into wrestling too, man. Like you said, like 2000 when you first got
yeah,
into
it was like right before the merger of like WCW and
it.
like they hadn't merged yet, but man, it was still yeah, like and then I didn't get the implication of certain things, until like my friends who had been watching during the Monday Night Wars were kind of filling me in. Like when Eric Bischoff made his debut on Raw, it was like, wait, why is this such a game changer? Like I get it, he worked for another wrestling company, right? But I didn't realize that they were literally like like they hated each other, like they were
Oh yeah,
actual.
it's like a legit war for real.
Exactly. Yeah, I didn't know any of the like behind the scenes. So once I started to figure out more about like all the behind the scenes workings is when you start to hear about the dirt sheets and stuff, and then rumors and whatever. But man, it was really cool going to shows, or even just watching shows and not knowing a damn thing. Like I didn't know who was
Yeah.
on, you know when Rey Mysterio was coming to WWE and they were playing all the like the vignettes with
Mhm.
his mask rolling and coming soon or whatever, or he's coming. Um, we went to a house show around that time, and that was my first ever live event. And we knew it wasn't going to be televised. We didn't really know what a house show was at that point, but whatever. And Rey Mysterio comes out. At first, we hear this music and we're like, "What is this?" And then he comes out. We're like, he hasn't even debuted yet. Is this his debut? Like we were beside ourselves because we thought we just saw his actual debut, and we didn't realize that he had probably wrestled like for the first or for that previous month on those house shows before showing up on SmackDown.
Mm.
But it was still really really cool getting to even, and then that was when I started to realize, oh man, there's this whole like world, there's this whole like super fandom, because I just knew guys in college. I did not get into like the whole culture of wrestling, and I
Mhm.
didn't understand everything. And there would be guys at the sports bars where you went and paid $10 to go watch a pay-per-view and drink beer and eat wings. But that was how we would watch pay-per-views when we were in college. Just go to the sports bar.
Yeah, man, that sounds like a pla I never got to experience anything like that, but I mean, I've went to, like, friends' houses and stuff. We kinda did something similar. We would order food or whatever, and this was back when I don't drink anymore, but back when I was, we would drink and stuff, and watch, and it would just have a blast. Kinda like, you know, back in the late '90s, like WCW, they would always do these things called the WCW Nitro parties. I don't know if do you remember seeing, like, they would, like so you would send in, like, back then they would, during the show, they would have, like, an address that you could send, a recorded a VHS tape to them, and like they might show it, on the upcoming Nitro or something. And if they do show your tape, then like you and all your friends got to win like tickets and all this other stuff to
Oh,
a future Nitro, and um. That was and like that's kind of like what me and my friends did. Like you said, you and your friends did as well. So it's funny too, like how so many people that's in the wrestling community did things that were so similar to say another group of people, but we didn't know each other, but we were all kind of doing the same thing. I talk
yeah.
about that same thing within the, like the video game community too. Like when I was a kid, it's like the Nintendo games,
Hmm.
you blow in them or whatever.
Yes, yeah,
But
oh,
like,
classic.
but like, and everybody would do that. But how did we all know to do that?
Right. Kind of like the how did everyone know about Marilyn Manson removing a rib? How did everyone know that?
Or
I've seen
or
people
how did
talk
how,
about that.
how did everyone know that they thought Marilyn Manson was Paul from the Wonder Years?
Exactly. I heard the same thing. I heard that Billy Corgan once starred in Small Wonder. He was the brother in Small Wonder, and I remember going, "No kidding!" I'm sitting there like 15, 16 years old. But that's just it. With wrestling, it was kind of like when you found somebody, you would see somebody wearing a shirt, and you're like,
Oh yeah.
you know, but it was like 20 something years ago. So if somebody was wearing a wrestling shirt, you knew they knew what was up.
Oh yeah.
But,
Especially if it's like an NWO shirt or a
oh
DX.
yeah, I remember a time period. But
And I can remember when I was in school. Like this was maybe late '90s, so I was probably '99. I was probably like in eighth grade, and the school that I went to ended up banning wrestling shirts completely. Because this is at the time where we had like the Generation X shirts on the back
to
that says
stuck it,
two words "suck it" or the Austin 316 shirts. Because I mean, I grew up in like the Bible Belt pretty much, so
right,
everybody was like against Austin 316 shirts and stuff around here. Um, aside from like the actual wrestling fans, but I mean, it was just things like that, and it didn't matter who it was. That was the catalyst for it. It was the Austin 316, it was the DX shirts. But even if I just wore like any like a Sting shirt or something, like nope, we can't have that. It was
right,
no wrestling shirts whatsoever. Uh, but once I got into high school, like a year later, like the high school was completely different. Like there was like guys wearing fucking Pantera shirts that had like half naked women and pot
right.
leaves on them and shit.
Cannibal Corpse shirt. Yes,
Yeah.
totally, totally.
So the high school was a little bit different, but so. But yeah, the culture was just so crazy back then, for wrestling fans, and especially during like around this time when you got into it. So, but when you got into it, who was like the first guy or first wrestler that you really became a fan of, and what about them appealed to you?
The Hardys, like they were in one of the first matches I saw. I think that was they were in the match with the steel chair shot.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was like I want to say the Hardys and the Dudleys were very early on, uh, and then like when Triple H came back from his injury, I remember being like, my friends were like, oh my god, they were losing their minds because he come back and he was so much more like muscular and he looked crazier and he was like hard, and they loved him before he disappeared with his injury. And I didn't get to see him before then, and so just when he came back, I just remember being told he's a star, and so that was one of the early guys. But then I remember one of the first people I like organically became a fan of, like as far as like saw him debut and then just was a fan, was when Brock Lesnar debuted. I had been watching for over a year at this point, like a little while, and so I had seen a lot. I had seen big guys, I'd seen fast guys, I'd seen big stunts and hardcore things, and then he showed up in that match, like just slide, just like
Oh,
seamlessly slides into the middle of somebody else fighing. I want to
is
say
it
it
the
was like
one where he nearly killed Spike Dudley?
it was either the one right before that, because yeah, he did that a couple of times where that was just
Mhm.
his gimmick. He would show up on Raw and then on SmackDown and just in the middle of a match, and it could be anybody fighting. And at first it would be some smaller people, but then it's like Rikishi and like the Hardys and things like that, and put him into programs. But yes, like the Spike Dudley thing was insane,
Mhm.
and so again, never having seen, and my buddies had never seen him, so we all felt like this was some new monster that we were all being introduced to. And I just remember thinking like that was the first time I was ever like, oh my god, who the hell is this? How is anyone ever going to beat this thing, like, uh and then getting into the indies, like once I would find out, like when somebody would debut and I'd be talking to somebody about them, because I worked at a bar at the time when I started getting into wrestling. I would mention somebody and they're like, oh man, he was really good when he wrestled for so and so, and I'm like, what's that? And then they would talk about like, oh yeah, he used to wrestle in my town, and so then they would talk about different indie federation or indie companies and stuff, or people wrestling for ECW before they were ever in, and I'm like, okay, how many companies are there? And then that's when I discovered TNA at that time, because they were running like it was like $2 or $4 pay-per-views or
Yeah,
something like.
the weekly pay-per-views every Wednesday. I remember that.
Dude, and that was like another, that was to me, I was like, oh, these guys are going to destroy WWE, you don't even know. But I didn't understand the dynamics, and I just couldn't believe that their wrestlers were doing things that I still hadn't seen before. And meanwhile, I'd been watching wrestling already for a couple of years or whatever, 2-3 years at this point. I don't know. I just really liked, getting further and further into the rabbit hole and finding out that there's people busting their asses, some that are the greatest wrestlers ever that you might never see on television, and that's just the way it is.
So besides the Hard, and before I get into this question, I gotta ask you, since you said the Hardys were kind of the first wrestlers that really like stood out to you and all
Well,
that.
also because
Um,
I grew up reading the Hardy Boys, and I just remember thinking like, they
did,
what like
did they were they inspired by the books or?
right, like when I heard the name, it was almost like a, is this a pair? Like what are these? And then they were dressed like I used to work at Gadzooks. They looked like they were dressed from like
Gadzooks.
Gadzooks, like. And so yeah, they clicked. It was the right time, the right moment, right? And then doing the hardcore stuff that I thought didn't exist. But what were you saying?
I was gonna ask. So like, I think I want to say it was in 2001, maybe. So it was when Stone Cold and Triple H were doing the two-man power trip. And there was like they had a few instances where they had some segments with the Hardys and Lita, and there's one moment in particular that always stands out to me, especially since we've been talking about chair shots to the head and all that. There's a segment in the ring where Stone Cold absolutely blasts Lita with a steel chair, and they just him and Triple H just they continue to just beat the shit out of her. Do you remember this moment? And do you
I
remember?
mean, I remember her fighting men, like, or you're taking guys out regularly, but I don't necessarily remember that
Oh
particular
man,
moment.
if like look it up later, like it's still
Yeah.
like it stands out to me so just because like they Stone Cold and Triple H just absolutely just double team beat the shit out of Lita. It's
Oh my
ridiculous.
God. No. I mean, was she? You're saying she was still with the Hardys at this point? Like this
Yeah,
was
because they were like they had done a few different like um angles with the Hardys because it was just like Stone Cold and Triple H were the tag champions at the time, and they were just basically running rampant over, and this was, I think, shortly before WCW got bought out, and
okay.
then like, they went into the invasion angle. So this was because just right around it was right around the time of WrestleMania 17 after Stone Cold had turned heel, and then like him and Triple H teamed up shortly
Okay.
after.
Okay.
So yeah, like definitely I always recommend like if you've never seen that, go and check that out because it's so bizarre and like it was just so out of place for the time in WWE.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wonder. I wonder what led to that, or like I wonder what was
I
behind
don't
it.
I don't I don't really know, but like it's just that to me for some reason that whenever I think of the Hardys and Lita, that's always one of the moments that stands out to me.
Well,
Uh,
remember when they bent a chair around Brock's face? Like
yes,
like when
I
Brock
think that Jeff
reached
did
down
that
around.
right.
Yes, like he was like Brock was, I think, trying to grab Matt Hardy or whatever, and while he was bent over, and then just hands
Because he,
free.
I think he like smacks him right in the head, and then like Brock just kind of like goes, he just kind of dumps out through the ring ropes out to
I
the
think he
outside.
takes two shots first because like he gets one shot and he kind of he looks like Goro, like flailing with his giant arms, and then he takes another shot and then it's when he fumbles over and yeah, tumbles like a rubber wrestling doll, and just lands on his feet like nothing, and he's just angry. Like, how did that not destroy that man's face? But
Right.
yeah, I
Jeez.
mean, that's why I
Drugs,
was almost convinced they were pie tin. What'd you say?
drugs.
Yeah, well, maybe. But I mean, that doesn't keep your nose from shattering.
No, no,
Like,
no, I
yeah,
know,
I,
but it's
just
crazy.
it looked like the chair. It was. I mean, I remember them holding the chair up, and it was dented, and like it had
Oh
wrapped
yeah.
around his face. Yeah, couldn't believe it. Um,
Um, so I guess that kind of leads me into my next question. Is there any kind of memorable moments or matches per se that kind of stand out to you when you first got into wrestling around that time?
um, some things kind of blur uh with matches that because I've gone back over the years, like we were talking about with the network, and even when it was on Peacock, I was in the middle of rewatching 2003 era Raw and SmackDowns because I was going back and forth. So I would watch the Raw and then the SmackDown of that week, and then the next Raw, and then I would watch the pay-per-view
Mhm.
that they were leading up to just while working and stuff. And so I get a lot of things kind of jumbled as far as what matches I remember from when I saw them first, or like when they happened, or versus when I first saw that match and what time frame, like because the match with Shane McMahon and Kurt Angle, the street fight
Mhm.
from I want to say
King of the Ring.
Unforgiven. Was it King of the Ring? Yeah, right. Yes, it was King of the Ring, and yeah, they just like I that match is still to this day. I've probably watched that match like 8 times, 10 times.
Yeah, I
Like,
love the stories behind that too. Like Vince yelling in the ref's ear, trying to get them to stop, and they're just
right.
they just keep doing it anyway. And then I can't remember if it was Shane or Kurt Angle was telling the story, and like immediately after, like they just went backstage together and shared a beer together, and it's like,
Well, just
it,
the fact, like somebody put the wrong glass in, like they didn't
yeah,
gimmick the glass, like
exactly.
there's just a lot of things, and knowing, and then even when you watch it, you hear the thud, the sickening, like as Jr. would say, the sickening thud of Shane's head hit the concrete, and then they pick him up and do it again, and it's like I don't know, there. some of those matches are the reason that I can't like turn on. People can say anything they want about Shane McMahon. I mean, bad booking this or that, but he did so many things, so many moments over the years that I'm
The
like,
stuff with Steve
that guy.
Blackman is, like, insane.
Oh, it was ridiculous. They everyone talks. I mean, because I don't take anything away from all the Mick Foley bumps and different huge bumps over the years. But my God, like Shane took some that were like straight up onto like wood. Like we saw him go crashing through
Yeah, I
like
think it was, like, SummerSlam, that match against Steve Blackman, or even one of his more recent ones, which is not really recent, but it's just one of the last ones that he had in WWE was the Hell in a Cell match against, Undertaker, where he
right,
jumps
right.
off the top of the cell. I mean, it's
But I mean, yeah. Again, there are some people that once you see them do specific things, you're like, all right, well, you can't really ever say that guy's not like the one, or not worthy of it. Because Cody Rhodes, for instance, when he took his jacket off and his pec was
oh
fucking,
god,
off
yeah.
the bone. Like from like even if you were not a fan of his, you can't say that dude's not one of the most hardcore people ever.
Exactly, and
Like,
what
like
pisses me off is, like, I've heard actual people say, like, "Oh, that wasn't legit. That was just all makeup." Blah, blah. I'm like, "No, that was 100%
yeah,
legit."
that must be why the makeup didn't get on anybody else, and it only
Exactly.
got darker through the
It's
match. Like,
I love, like, the stuff people try to tear down wrestling sometimes, like,
well, people.
it's amusing to me.
Oh man, the IWC is the worst. It could be
Mhm.
the best
I
and the
agree.
worst. It's really like look at how why were people last week even talking about Rhea Ripley's figure or health or what? Dude, are you kidding me? She's on TV. She's in a main program of WrestleMania. Shut up. Just don't mind your business. Like first of all,
Exactly.
like if you hear that she's been taken off of the road for medical reasons, then maybe you can ask a question about that. But if you say, "Hey, she doesn't look as muscular as she might have 3 years ago. What's
Uh,
going on?" Like, shut the hell up.
is she on Ozempic? What's going on here?
Seriously, who gives a
Like,
rip? Like,
yeah,
tune
exactly.
in and just watch them do their shit.
And the IWC is really one of the things that I was kinda hesitant to start this channel and do this
Sure.
show to begin with because, like, just but I try not to let things get to me like that because it's stupidity, a lot of it is, and, I just man, and I hate tribalism in
Oh yeah.
wrestling too. I hate it so bad. I hate like, oh, well, I love AEW, but fuck WWE or vice versa.
Yeah.
Or something. I'm like, dude, it's all really the same shit. Who cares? Like, just
Well, and
enjoy
all these
yourself.
Yeah, and you don't have to enjoy the management. You don't have to enjoy the people that own things, or maybe you don't like some of the wrestlers. But there's all those talent, all that talent. They all share the same drive. They all have they know each other. They all wrestled each other. They've
Yeah,
all been in the same cars, the same locker rooms, the same alleyways, changing clothes. They've all gone through devastating injuries and been like without a job or not knowing what they're gonna do next, or being cut from something that they had not seen coming, like a big WWE contract or whatever it is. And that it's the company is a vessel to get to watch the wrestle, to get to see talent do their thing. And it's great to see when somebody does switch vessels and get used
yeah.
properly or differently, and you get to see them in a different light. Because I've been a Penta fan for so
Me
long,
too, man. Love him.
and seeing him in AEW was awesome because it was like, holy shit, like he's getting to do paper, he's getting to wrestle some of the elite wrestlers, like some of the best wrestlers in the business, and he's getting a platform. But when he went to WWE, I was a little nervous at first. I'm like, oh shit! Like, was he going to come out as like an accountant, and he's not going to be wearing a mask, and he's going to have, a valet of some sort? Like, I just didn't know what they were going to do, and the way that they've presented him is almost
Yeah.
like Hollywood found their boy, and they presented him as the way he should be presented. And this guy's figurehead now. Like this guy's a mainstay.
Yeah.
like
Li-
it,
Like, I don't know if you've watched the show that WWE does on the WWE Unreal.
I haven't watched it. I know of it. I just
But I was kinda hesitant with it at first, but after I watched it, I kinda appreciate it more than I thought I would. I mean, I at least enjoy the fact that, if they're kind of pulling the curtain and looking, giving us a look behind the scenes of what they did with this storyline or that storyline, it's not something that's current. It's not something it's this is like months ago that's
right,
happened,
right.
and in season 2 of it, Penta is like heavily highlighted in that season, and you can just kind of tell that they have a lot in store. They see him as a potential top guy going forward in WWE, and I love that. Uh,
Yeah, it's
and
fantastic.
and also, I just love the fact that they got the guitarist from Tool to do his music and Ray Phoenix's music as well.
Oh
So,
wait, he did Raise too?
mhm.
Because didn't he like do it for like $1? Like didn't
It was
he?
something like that.
I mean that's what the story was. He was like, "I'll do it for free," essentially.
Yeah.
Like, which is yeah, it's awesome, man. It just shows that you put in the work. It doesn't matter where you're at. You put in the
Mhm.
work. People are gonna see you. Like
Exactly.
even if you're like, man, I don't like Tony Khan, man, that guy sucks or whatever. You're like, okay, well, cool, but he's giving you,
Yeah.
he's the reason that you are a big fan of Darby Allin. He's the reason you're a giant fan of MJF. He's the reason you even know who Wardlow is, or who like Powerhouse Hobbs was. Like when he dropped into WWE. Thankfully, they're starting to use him now, but I'm like, oh no, please, because they changed his name immediately. It was like they debut. You see Powerhouse Hobbs, and you're like, oh, Powerhouse, and then they swap it out, and it's like Royce
Royce
Key, whatever.
King.
Okay, like, which is whatever. I'm just saying it's cool, but it's also like it can be nerve wracking because you see what
Mhm.
they've done with other people, and you're like, oh boy, like Loki or like Killer
Yeah,
Cross or
Cabal.
Yeah, dude. Like I mean, that was like wild. What like I don't
And they
know.
and they and they put him with, who was it? Michelle McCool and Layla there for a
Yes,
while.
as his like professionals that were mentoring him and stuff, and uh, I don't know. They've taken a handful of talent that I'm like real stoked that oh my god they're in WWE now, like Ricochet, and when he first started with NXT, he was still on that same indie Ricochet path, and then he
Mhm.
went up to WWE, and then they started, it just became like, oh, what is, and now I just don't care for him because I get to see, I've seen his true color, or at least seen too much of him now.
Yeah. Like, all the stuff he puts on Twitter and all that, it's
Oh
just like
God,
it's really over the top and unnecessary,
and
and
Edge Lord.
I can't tell if he's just trying to play that gimmick that he has on TV or if it's just how he really is. It's it's
No,
it's
I feel like he's leaning into just how he really feels, but with no filter because I'm a heel, and
right.
yeah.
That guy's from, like, Paducah or somewhere in
Right,
Kentucky.
right. Yeah, but I mean, again, you could package him any way you want, and if he's got the talent and if he's cool, then he's gonna thrive, and
Mm.
I do love seeing redemption stories or the holy shit moments of like the what this guy came back or what they're doing this, or they said that. It's like I don't know, it's fun seeing
Yeah,
the
and
lines
this
blurred.
I just, it goes back to what I was talking about. Like, I can't stand like the tribalism. When, it's one of the biggest things I think, the biggest problems with the IWC is they're too focused on it instead of just sitting and enjoying the product of something, enjoying following these wrestlers no matter what promotion they work for. Like I do that. Like one of the guys that's in AEW right now, I've followed him since like 2005 now. Roderick Strong,
Oh
love
yeah.
that guy. And I mean, he's getting up there in age now. I don't know how much longer he'll be wrestling, but like, if he were to just leave AEW, then go like some other like no name promotion, I would go and watch the promotion just because I'm a fan of him, and I
Hmm.
do that. I'm like that with everybody that I'm a fan of. And I see a lot of these comments from people like that will shit on promotions like say TNA or a random like indie promotion or something. I'm like, well, this new modern style of wrestling where there's a lot of like flippy moves and high spots and stuff. Well, you have TNA to thank for that because of their X division, which was so innovative and revolutionary starting back in 2002. So I mean, and I don't think enough people look into the history of things that go on as wrestling progresses throughout time. But I highly recommend it because it'll make you less miserable watching the product. It'll make you appreciate things more and respect it more.
Oh yeah, and go back and watch like matches with Juventud, Dean
Oh
Malenko,
my
and
god.
Rey Mysterio from
To me,
WCW
Dean
and stuff.
Malenko is one of the greatest of all time, in my opinion.
Oh, and they were doing moves that you're like, well, are they using like what the? It looked like Matrix moves
Right.
things that again, things nobody had seen, but they had been doing them in other countries, and they've been doing them on the indies and things that just weren't on
Mhm.
television because wrestling had always been big guys,
Right,
and
right.
like you had to be one of the big boys. Like I don't know, the bigger you were, the more you were featured. It didn't even matter if you could wrestle sometimes, and
Yeah, what's the term that Kevin Nash used to use, but vanilla midgets?
right, and how a big guy puts asses in seats or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like I mean,
And
sure.
it's crazy, like, guys that got held back like that in WCW, Eddie and, and Jericho guys like that, they were all kinda held back, but once they, look at where Eddie Guerrero, like, what his
Oh
legacy
my god.
became.
That's just it. Like give somebody give somebody a chance to do that they can do, and you're going to get what makes somebody a star. And like if they have it, if they can bring something to the table. Plus, there's something like you can have the best technical wrestler, and they're not going to make it ever because they just don't get over with the crowd. They can't connect. And sometimes you have people that connect with the crowd better than anyone out there, and they can't wrestle to save their ass. And but then you have to find that kind of that lightning in a bottle where they're like, oh shit, this is something new. It's almost like an SNL cast. When you add six new character or six new cast members,
Mhm.
there's a chance that one of those cast members is going to be the next Will Ferrell, the
Right.
next
Breakout star, yeah.
exactly like that you're going to eventually find the next humongous star. It's just you got to sift through a bunch of people, and that's where I kind of love watching indies because you don't know a lot of these people, and there's countless shows where I'm watching a promotion like GCW that I follow, and they're announcing guys, and I'm like, who? And then and then they announce somebody else, and I'm like, wait a minute. I knew the lineup for tonight, and I don't even know some of these people. But then by the
Right.
end of that match, I'm like, yo, that guy is crazy. Or, yo, I hope they bring her back because I've never seen that before, or whatever it was. And
I know that feeling, man, because there was several shows that I was going to, probably like the mid 2000s, little indie shows where watching this guy M Dog 20, Matt Cross,
oh, dude,
uh,
like
and
I've got his Son of Havoc mask hanging up
right
behind
from
me.
Lucha Underground,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I
Totally.
mean, but I've just been a huge fan of him for so, and I've talked to him. He's a super down to earth guy, and like, I think he was featured in one of those backyard wrestling games for PS2 back in the
Was
day.
he? I remember that game. Yeah, I remember those.
But that's a
I
guy
think they
that
made two of them.
I'm shocked. I think he did have like some where he was booked as like a jobber or whatever on an episode of SmackDown or Raw or something. Where he was like a local hometown like guy or something. But I'm really shocked that he never, got onto TV like WWE or TNA. I mean, he's been on TV. He's doing the Lucha Underground stuff, of course, and I think he might
Hmm.
have did like what was that one promotion that MTV did back in the day?
Yeah, Wrestling Society X.
Yeah, I think he was on
I
that,
think he
and
was. Yeah, say
um,
like Teddy Hart was on that too.
yeah. But I was always shocked that guys like that and just some other guys like there's a guy that's on the kind of wrestles around the tri-state area named Chance Prophet. I've followed him for a long time since around maybe late 2000s, and I know he's had like tryout matches and stuff with TNA, but just like he's just always kind of been like an indie guy pretty much since he started all those years ago. It's
Hmm.
I mean, but there is a chance like you will, a lot of these guys will make it. And if you see like in the past, WWE likes to do, I'm sure, other promotions do this too, where they have like, actual professional wrestlers coming in and like, but they're playing like a security guard or
Oh,
something
they
like
still do it all the time. Yeah, I
exactly.
still see it happening. Yeah.
And there's a guy that just lives right down the road from me, maybe like 20 minutes down the road, named Marty Clay. He wrestles around this area, and he's already been on WWE TV 3 times this year as a security guard. So I'm really hoping he's really talented too. I
Well,
really
and
hope he makes it.
that's a good sign if they're using him that many times. That means that he's reliable, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
we've seen some people
exactly.
take crazy bumps from just security people, that are in the last month building up for
Oh my God,
Mania.
the
The
Obafemi,
Oba
the
one,
guy
yeah,
that
dude,
threw him,
seriously,
that was
that was the first
insane.
one that came to mind when, yeah, like, that it's awesome that they do that. And I didn't realize, when I first started watching, when they would have some little guy out in the ring getting destroyed by whoever was debuting to be the monster. I didn't realize who these people were half the time. Like, even I remember one of the first times that I thought, like, did I just witness a murder? Was when Eric Bischoff was doing the 3-minute warning thing with Rosie and Jamal.
Yeah.
You remember that? Like, and they
Mhm.
brought out the HLA, and it was going to be like two girls, and
And they even had their own nameplate that just said the lesbians.
right, yes, and when you saw, who was it, Umaga? Well, Jamal or whatever,
Mhm.
kick that one lady right from the beginning when they came into the
Oh
ring,
my
and
God, it was
he flat
so
foot kicked
bad.
her. I straight up, I mean, I remember my buddies and we were watching this together, and we were all like, "Oh!" Like, all of us shouted because we thought that these were just two random. We didn't realize that this was talent,
Mhm.
or indie workers that had been contracted to be in there. But you go back and you watch it nowadays, and because there have been years when the network first started, I remember showing people like, "Oh man, you gotta see this one moment. This was crazy," but you see them like doing worker move, like communicating with each other, tapping, keeping each other aware, and making sure everyone's lined up for the move, and but again, it looked really really good. But finding out that they're actual workers, and but I don't remember seeing them again. I don't remember them
No, I
becoming
think that was after they took that beating, I think they were gone after.
That's what I mean, and I don't know if they, but you know how like you would see Samoa Joe or MJF as like a security guard for Samoa Joe, and
Yeah.
now he is who he is, and so it's like it's
And
cool when
like
you
LA
see,
Knight has been in those spots. I think
right,
Sheamus had a few times where he was a security guard, and just so there's been
okay,
so many guys that have done that. I mean,
yeah,
look at CM Punk was one of the guys that came out like in the pinstripe
Cena,
suit was Cena at that one
that's right.
WrestleMania.
That's
I
right.
mean,
It wasn't that
it's
the Detroit
crazy.
one where he was like the mafia guy or something with like a
Yes,
gun,
yes.
or yeah.
I can't remember which one it was. I want to say it was 23, maybe,
Okay.
but I
But
could be
totally,
mistaken.
it's awesome that they do that, and and it's really cool. I love seeing working relationships, even with seeing TNA or use OVW guys.
Hmm.
Like that was happening for a while, and then TNA put in there, or WWE using some TNA guys lately.
Hmm.
Over the last couple of years, has been pretty awesome to see, because I don't think that would have happened a few years ago or
Did
5 years ago.
did you see here recently though? There was I can't remember the name of the promotion, but they were advertising an MJF versus Nick Nemeth match,
Oh,
and
right.
then like TNA like blocked that and
Yeah.
shut it down. So that was kind of disappointing.
No, that was all apparently one guy, right? Like, was it Carlos Silva, or I don't
Was
remember.
that who it was?
I don't remember, man. And I don't even. I spoke too much. I don't know, but I just know that somebody made that call, and I know that they were getting they were getting dragged online for it, because a lot of the wrestlers were pissed, and like these were big matches, and you're talking Mania week. Like,
Yeah.
are you familiar? You're familiar with like the indie, like the Collective at all through GCW, where they
Oh,
do,
that will they come to like the what they call like the Fed City or whatever for like
yeah,
Witch Mania, and they do because they have like a Dragon Gate show, they have a CZW show, whatever,
absolutely,
GCW,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they're all within that time frame of just a couple days surrounding
Hmm.
the WrestleMania weekend. Yeah, I went to WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans years ago,
Okay.
and man, it was like there was a wrestling show on almost every block of the town
Right. Yes.
when
Like,
I
like
was
the,
down there, so it's
and
crazy.
it'll be around the clock. I mean, there's a few happening this weekend where the show doesn't start till midnight or 1 or 2, and they're on Vegas time. So
Mhm.
I mean, you've got wrestling going into 5 in the morning out here, and but it's really awesome that wrestlers can go in there and get visibility by all these people, because you'll see wrestlers from big promotions that like Mania, even for Bloodsport, a couple of like even 2 years ago, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, he's got, I mean, every year he's got some WWE talent, whether it was Shayna Baszler or Natty Neidhart or Baron Corbin, or people showing
Mhm.
up on these shows. But I think it was 2 years ago they had CM Punk and Nick Khan were in the audience, like watching, or like behind the, like back with Brett Lauderdale at the Bloodsport show, with Barnett and stuff, like
Wow, I didn't know that.
and so it's like, man, it's awesome to see that a lot of these people get the eyes on them and get the chances to shine in a city that is overtaken by wrestling fans. And if you're in a city for 4 days for 1 or 2 nights worth of wrestling, and you have other nights to kill and days to kill and things, you're going to go see other wrestling shows. So
Mhm.
it's a good way for people to be like, man, that was a really awesome show. I'm going to follow those guys. Or, man, when do they run the next show? Because I want to tune in.
Yeah, just wrestling has just really evolved and just changed in so many ways. I mean, look, if you just look at the past 20 years, I mean, there's so many differences from the way it is now as it was then. So how do you feel about the state of not just like one promotion in general, but just wrestling in general? Like, how do you feel about the state of wrestling today as opposed to when you first got into it years ago?
I I love current wrestling. I still do.
Mhm.
And I can respect aspects of both, like from when I started to now. I respect the fact that you have a lot of stories about people that had to earn their way and had to, like, they weren't accepted into the locker room, or they got hazed, or they got, a few stiff shots, or they got, they sat in the back, or you know things that especially even hard training sessions where, like, the dungeon and things like that, and then you get wrestlers like Chris Jericho or Bret Hart, or people that are unbreakable, and they're people, they're not gonna stop a match if they break their finger, or they're not gonna, but I appreciate now that matches get stopped if something crazy happens, because I'm also a grown ass man, and I'm not like, like a young kid anymore that's
Because
like
it's not
blood
worth it,
hardcore.
man. Yeah,
It
it's not.
isn't. It isn't. And when you see somebody who's clearly concussed, or when you see somebody who's clearly injured, I don't want the match to keep going. Like and there's just a lot of different aspects that I think I can look at from back in the day and be like, man, that was really cool. That's what got me to be like, yo, that's hardcore. That's what, makes me cheer harder, is if somebody comes back from this or that. But nowadays, I love that you get so many different types of characters. I mean, never has there been a time when wrestling is not only accepted and uh, uh, just embraced by so many types of people, but they have people that are wrestling that spend time working on their craft, but they also come up with a character that plays into what we already know. So, like that Luigi Primo, I'm sure you've seen some of
Yeah,
his clips.
it spins like the pizza dough and stuff, yeah.
Incredible, you know what I mean? Because the guy can actually wrestle. He's actually putting the time into the gimmick, into he's not making a mockery of it. He's wrestling, and we all know it's a show. We all know,
Mhm.
and he knows that he's not the biggest, most muscular. He's not going to go out there and wrestle with Schlack or Braun Breaker, but he can go out and entertain as good as well as anyone. And then you've got you got the cocaine gimmick, or have you seen that where it's like the
Oh yeah,
white
there's like
cane?
cocaine and candy cane and all
Right,
these
and then
different
there's the
blue
blue
cane.
cane, yeah, and there's a lot of people that there's a spot in wrestling. I think it kind of started going that way with like promotions like Chikara back in
Yes.
the day.
And now
Like
now you have mystery wrestling that Evil Uno does commentary for and he books for. Are you familiar with them?
I'm not familiar with mystery
So
wrestling. No.
Evil Uno, who was like Player Uno back in the day of Chikara, and so like um, the new promotion called Mystery Wrestling, and they've only been around for maybe like a year or so or something
Okay.
now, but it's very very similar to how Chikara was with like a lot of comedy aspects to it,
Right.
and they do there's little like skits they do during the middle of matches. Like there's one guy named Psycho Mike where he always like he finds the hard cam and he just gets entranced with it and he can't look away, but he's still like doing moves on his opponent stuff while looking at
Okay.
the hard. So it's just little like stuff that Chikara would do back in the day,
Right.
and
Right.
I'm super impressed that you're familiar with Chikara because like
Oh
I love.
man.
I love comedy in wrestling. I
Hmm.
mean, of course, for certain promotions, it doesn't work all the time, but when they do it right, it's perfect because that's what I love about wrestling because it kind of applies to all different types of genres: action, horror, comedy. There's
Oh
romance
yeah.
times. So, but and
Oh
I'm a comedy guy anyway. So like the stuff at Chikara they were doing like they had like one wrestler named CP Monk, which is like a CM. It was like a just a
right. Right.
chipmunk dressed as CM Punk. Just I
Yeah.
love stuff,
Well, they
dude.
would do the guys in little fuzzy suits, and they had the
Uh,
ant
Ice
wrestlers
Cream
that are like,
Junior, the Colony, you had Fire Ant,
yes, the colony. Thank you. And then the ice
Ant,
cream. Yes,
because
they.
Fire Ant from Chikara is Orange Cassidy in
Okay,
AEW.
right. Oh,
So
wow. I wasn't even aware of that. Like, I know, well, Cesaro or,
Claudio Castagnoli.
Claudio. Yeah. I mean, that's why I don't, I'm with you. The tribalism blows my mind because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
man, if you write off all these other things or all these other promotions, then you're basically saying like, I don't really care about the wrestling. I care about the company that puts on this wrestling, and like, because I feel like you're going to see so many characters and so many moves that you will never see on any of your big main, wrestling companies. And that's the way it should be. Like, they shouldn't be doing everything that they do on the indies because the indies are a different beast, with pro wrestling, they're beaming around, or with things like, WWE, they've got shareholders. They've got, they're a different, they write things out months and months and months ahead of time, and you can get
Yeah.
fined if you cut your hair without telling them because the scans were already done for your toy or whatever the hell. And with the indies, I mean, they can bring out somebody who got released from a major company 2 days ago if they didn't have the right contract stipulations, and then they can also do funny things. Like, I saw a clip recently, I don't even remember the guy's name. He was like an inmate or a convict, and he was wrestling, and he had two security guards that escorted him to the ring. And when the match started, he like ran out of the ring and ran right out of the arena, and his security guards went chasing after him because he was literally or a convict who
Oh,
was being allowed to
yes,
wrestle.
I have seen that now.
It's
It's
just hilarious. Like
yeah,
that's a
I
funny
love it.
idea. The Jesus gimmick that was going around like the end of
Right, I've
last
seen
year,
that
where some
too.
guy, there was a Stephen Flow gimmick. Did you see this? Where his entrance music was the Pearl Jam parody of Even Flow,
Oh,
and
maybe I think I did.
he
Yeah,
came out wearing flannel, and he was wrestling in like
and
jeans,
like
and
Eddie
he
Vedder.
had,
Yeah,
yeah, again, it's ripe for these kinds of characters because wrestling is so embedded in culture. We know we're all in on it, and
hmm
that's where we can watch storytelling, and we can watch incredible long matches that go on and showcase all sorts of ups and downs. But we can also watch the funny, the comedic, the spot junky kind of matches where it's entertainment value. It's not shitting on the craft or anything. Like,
Right, and
and there are
there's
some.
there's just so many people that are just consumed with that, though. Like, they're just quick to just shit on anything at this point, I think, online.
Oh yeah,
I mean, if I don't know if you watched AEW Dynamite last night, but,
I didn't.
Darby Allen was in the main
I
event,
heard.
and he won the championship,
I
and,
heard.
of course, in true IWC fashion, so many people are quick to shit all over that, and I just don't get that. Like, I love that for. I thought it was a great moment, and plus it kind of came, full circle. They brought Sting onto the end of the episode to celebrate with him in the win,
Yeah,
and I absolutely loved it. And but it's so interesting, like how the fan base can react in a negative aspect, to something like that. But then, like, you got Danhausen now in WWE, and I was so scared to death when he was coming out. I was like, oh God, so many people's going to come and shit all over him. So, but thankfully, they're doing something. It's like magic, man. Like they're really like people love him, and I was like, holy
seriously.
shit, this went completely how different from how I thought it was going to go, but
Especially after that
I love it.
debut. Remember when
Yeah,
remember
and
that
they were
debut
booing him, yeah,
backfired? Like
and I was like,
or so
"Oh,
they claimed.
no."
Yeah,
But then, like,
yeah.
the next appearance, which was on Raw or whatever, like, it was a different vibe from here on out,
Hmm.
and I seen some clips earlier where he was, like, set up at a station at the WWE World where he was like spinning a wheel for like kids to win Raw tickets and stuff like that. And so I love that how they're using him so
Oh,
far.
again. It goes back to the what we were talking about with Penta, and with utilizing somebody in different ways under different under different eyes and under different control. And with Danhausen, he could have been made a jobber. They didn't even have to bring that character, and they didn't have to do any of this. But they saw the potential. They gave him a chance, and it went over. And now he's got all the production value he
Oh
needs.
yeah.
He's got all the merchandise. I mean, he's a merchandise
Well,
monster.
he posted a photo earlier on his Instagram where he's standing in front of a Goodyear blimp. So I'm thinking they're going to do something with that this weekend. They're going to
Hey,
finally give him his blimp.
hopefully, and hopefully they end up doing that sphere thing. I heard that there was a rumor that they were
That
trying
too.
to.
It's real, like it's so crazy. Like I'm so glad that I would have never thought that he would ever be in WWE though. I mean,
Never, never.
I
Espe-
found out who he was. It was during COVID when he was
Mhm.
just doing stuff on his YouTube channel. It was kind of early on with that character he had just created because before he was just doing like he was going under his name Donovan Danhausen as a wrestler, but then he just created that kind of like horror, like he calls it like a Svengoolie mixed with Conan
Right.
O'Brien
Yeah,
type of
I've
gimmick.
seen the Conan O'Brien connection or comparison, and I like it.
So,
I
like,
think.
I was just watching videos of him, like, unboxing, showing off action figures. He would do, like, a video where, like, how to make a pizza, but, like, he would just, like edit it until he'd open up the oven and he'd pull out, like, a Little Caesars pizza box with or just, silly things like that, but I love that type of humor.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, I was like, holy shit, if they can get this kind of involved, with wrestling more, because I mean, but I think at the time he was wrestling, but he wasn't being like used as much on the indies. But once I think his YouTube stuff started picking up, more and more promotions started to book him, and it just
Right.
kind of like spread like wildfire after that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then I was baffled by the AEW use of him or lack of use of him.
Yeah,
Because
right.
that was the thing when I first saw he went to AEW. I was like, oh hell yeah, like a
Yeah,
big
exactly.
stage.
Too.
And then they just kind of again. I feel like if you have the right production people behind you and the right and the people that listen to your vision and they kind of accept it and kind of hey, look, we can do this, we can do this, and then they give you the stage you need and the back and the support you need for it. Man, the presentation for Danhausen for Penta, uh, like I just don't think it could be done any better. And I think that they've like nailed it with those two.
Oh, absolutely. And do you think, like with the AEW thing, where the kind of misuse of Danhausen there, do you think that was at the time just a roster size issue with AEW because they had like I think at that time over 200 people signed to the
Yeah,
roster?
totally. I mean, it's a I feel like you know I'm not a booker. I'm not a promoter, but I
Mhm.
feel like if I was in Tony Khan's shoes, I would probably I would probably go and hire a writing team
Mhm.
or a group of writers to kind of commandeer or to kind of
Well,
corral my
Road
ideas.
Dogg's available.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I heard Russo's available too. But
He's doing the JCW stuff right now, though, I think.
God. Yeah, and see, and listen, JCW, they've got their own talent. Like again, they're starting to go as legit as possible for that. Like as far as legit as I've seen JCW go. They've been branching out and they've had a few decent talent. But it's just one of those things where um, I don't know. With all these, if you see a talent you like and you have the money, you sign them, you hold on to them. You don't want them going elsewhere. But then, how do you use everybody? And then, if you're one person, I mean, there's a reason that studios come in and kind of be like, hey, why don't you cut this scene out of this movie? And the director's like, what? I love that scene. But meanwhile, it's a scene that's like, man, that's probably a good idea they cut that, because
Right.
the movie became a household movie, and then with that scene, it might not have worked. And I feel like that's the same with wrestling. I mean, like you can have ideas, but unless you have a long-term story idea or a long-term booking plan, then they're just one-off ideas and they're just one-off matches. And so I think. I feel like it just came down to, like you were saying, too many people, one guy running all these ships
Right.
and trying to harness his energy and storytelling and booking and everything himself. I feel like he would do himself a huge favor if he had actually like the way that DC decided to hire James Gunn to take and okay, let's get all of our properties, let's see what we have to work with, let's get one person to figure out a big thing, and then we can hire directors and get other writing teams to break down and do the stories individually. But you have one mastermind, and then you can hire people to take it from there. And if Tony's got a ton of great ideas, and if he wants to book all these things, then cool, give these ideas to writers that know how to do what they need to do, and kind of make these storylines flesh out or pan out or give us the best we can, uh the best we can get from these people, because I think WWE is capable of doing that. We've seen it, and
Mhm.
then I think that they also, I mean, it's just like storytelling. It's like, you can go watch Scream 12, and it's like, it's going to have great moments, but is it going to be,
I hope
like,
we don't get Scream 12. I think
well,
I'm
that's all
done
we're
with that
getting.
franchise.
We're getting another one. Like
Oh god, really? Are we?
yeah, they already hired the writing team and the directing team. I think it was like a pair of siblings that are doing it. But
I
yeah, I
still haven't
mean,
seen the new one yet, but I was like, I I really haven't enjoyed a Scream film since Scream 4.
see,
So,
Scream 3 to me is still one of the worst. Like I don't think you can get much worse than Scream 3. And
yeah.
that was a victim of the timing when it came out. Like apparently that was after Columbine and September 11th, and
Right.
so people were like, the studio was like, no blood. Let's make this not a dark tone. Make it comedy. Make it, whatever. And so
Yeah,
Wes
because it even has,
Craven's,
Jay and Silent Bob are in
yeah,
Scream
yeah.
3.
Like that. That's where they were just told to make the tone light and make it different. They said they didn't want to bum people out, and I just, you can tell by, I rewatched all of them before that last Scream came out, and damn it if 3 is not the only one that feels like a chore to get through every
It
time.
does, man. Like, I love the first 2. Like, I think that
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the first 2
The
are
first one is my favorite, but
the fir yeah, yeah, by far. I mean, I think the first one is probably one of the best horror movies to come out of the entire '90s. I mean, because
oh
it
yeah,
really kinda helped, horror kinda reshape itself after that.
absolutely.
But, uh but yeah, man, it's I hate to get off on a tangent talking about horror films, 'cause, like,
No, I know.
that could go
I
into
was
something
just,
completely different.
yeah, that's how we met, So again, I totally, yeah, big horror fan, but that's the only way I can compare it though, is if you have
Yeah.
a whole roster of all of these people and you're trying to do right by all of them, you ain't gonna do it by yourself. No company, no, there is no, like one guy heading up like all the departments. It's like
And
you're
he's
gonna have
tried to
heads of
branch
every.
out. He's tried, to do the 2 shows, Dynamite, Collision, then he even branched out by purchasing Ring of Honor,
Ring
and
of Honor, yeah. But then he
so,
had Dark for a long time. Like they've
yeah,
had
Elevation.
Elevation. Like again, he had the talent. He had the roster,
Mhm,
But if you're one guy, I mean, my God, man, like hire some people, if you're trying to compete with companies and you're listing some of the examples as WCW, WWE, whatever. It's like they all had writers, man. They all had a writing team. They had people that they answered to, and if you're the one person in charge of everything, then there's got to be some or throwing ideas back at you or refining something, fine tuning things.
yeah,
I just think that's how most projects come together because you can have a great idea, pitch it to somebody, and then one or two meetings later they pitch something and it turns that idea from a solid idea into a gold mine,
mm,
and I just the more eyes on a project sometimes can be if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, it's going to ruin the soup or whatever. But yeah, if you have like a couple in there, they're going to tell you like, well, this is my opinion. Oh, well, I didn't think about that way. It's like, and you go off in a direction you didn't originally think. I don't know. Then you just get fresh content too. I think with changing, because I love Road Dog, but if you get somebody new, it's like when they started when they swapped out their camera guy after 25 years or their production truck guy, like for WWE. The next episode, you're getting an entrance from the street, and it's going through the whole arena, and it's going up through the entrance, where the crowd goes in. You're
mhm,
getting an entrance or an intro to Raw like you've never seen before. And it's like, man, I've been watching this shit for 30 years and I don't know. I've never seen it like this. And all they did was hire somebody new and get a new
right.
team with a fresh set of eyes. And so it's like, it's easy to get, to not, or to kind of see things through one vision or one tunnel if you don't have a whole.
Do you think a lot of the people, let's use WWE for example, if they've had the same set of guys working behind the scenes for years and years, but it takes bringing in someone fresh, someone brand new, that's never been with the company, and present these ideas for something like you were just talking about. Do you think that those guys have just been there for so long, they're just very complacent, and with what they're doing, they don't really want to you know, come up with any kind of new ideas and just keep it, don't change something if it's not broken type of thing?
I mean, it may be some of that, but I also think that it's a lot like well, like when growing up when you would see somebody our dad's age and they were dressing like a dad, you
Mhm,
know, like I I feel like you can kind of do something for so long or it becomes so routine and so comfortable that you're like it's hard to think of it differently, so like if you have somebody like a Michael Hayes booking a match and he's like, well, no, this is where the heel does this and then this is where the and it's like, well, right, for the last 40 years, yes. But if you have somebody who's younger who grew up in a different era of wrestling or who did this and this, they might think, well, why doesn't the heel do it like this time? Because
mhm,
the crowd's expecting that, and then you do this versus this, and then Michael Hayes might be like, well, no, I don't like that. But it's not necessarily him saying that won't ever work or I don't want to change. It's him saying, well, this works. This is what we do. This is the way it goes. And I feel like when it comes to new and innovative things, there's never going to be a new move if somebody says, well, that's not how you do a corkscrew, or that's not how, or no, we don't do it from the top row or whatever, like who was the first person to put somebody through a table, and go, dude, we're gonna do that now. Like, I'm gonna hit me with a chair or something. It's like
right.
there have to be new things, and you have to kind of go against your comfort zone sometime or step away from your comfort zone and allow somebody to try something new. And I feel like sometimes with old heads like that, especially if they're not the ones in charge and they've been doing it for so long and they've been under, if you have management breathing down your neck telling you this is how to do it, this is how to do it, you get conditioned. no matter what you're doing, if you're suddenly given some free reign, you're still probably going to show up at the same time, do the same kind of things until you start to, be told like, well, you don't have to do that anymore, man. You can try this, or you can let them go over and do that too. And it's like, again, with that production comparison, as far as the camera crew running up the stairs and through the
Right.
entranceways and whatever, like, I, my brain wouldn't think of that. I was just conditioned to, yeah, you're showing us, okay, this is inside the arena, this is whatever. But new technologies come around, and then you get new specialists, and it's like a company that's big enough, like WWE, can go, hey, yeah, you want to hire a drone guy so that we can get the drone cam to go around the audience. And they're like, oh shit, yeah, we haven't done that. But then, like, even back in the day, WWE, Vince McMahon was doing the cameras over the field for the XFL, like over the football field, so he could get the angles that he wanted in different camera shots, right? And then didn't that kind of get, okay, well, we've now seen that, so now the NFL is going to use that, and now other people are going to do that because
Right.
we never thought about it like that, and that's where I just feel like new eyes on things sometimes might change up, like, you don't want it to become like the Hershey bar that doesn't melt and it turns into rubber, and you're like, what the fuck, it's like not even chocolate anymore, and it's because they changed the recipe. But it's, you don't want them to do it like that. But if you kind of add a little something here, or bring in a little something there, or do some new stuff and bring in some new eyes, I think you can get some pretty awesome results. Or, you know, I just feel like somebody that's been doing something for 30 years, 40 years, I think the only example I can think of that is like completely like, this guy never got old. He never ran, like, his course. Jim Johnston, that did, I mean, right up until his final songs that he did for the company. I mean, he was never like stagnant. It was
Right.
never just like, well, he's out of ideas. It was like, no, that's another banger. Holy
Yeah,
shit. And
and
he
if
would
there's
hire,
anybody that deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame, it's that guy.
dude. It goes back to the beginning of our conversation. The entrance themes, when it kicks off, when you hear that glass shatter, when the guitars hit for the you're like, that's my guy,
Yeah, exactly.
immediately. And it encompasses people. Like, it becomes your ringtone, it becomes your alarm clock, it becomes, like your thing. Like, I've driven around listening to entrance themes in my car, you know what I mean? Like, and you can't just do that with any old generic entrance music. But somebody like, you know I don't know, I feel like they took a problem that didn't exist and they broke it, or they caused a problem,
Yeah,
like, by getting rid of him. But
because
I understand there's also,
there are ways that they can evolve and they can make things better than what it once was, but they can also kind of like put themselves behind the times too.
absolutely, yeah.
They can make the two steps forward, two steps backwards, or whatever the saying is.
Hmm.
It always seems like that. Just not just WWE, but just like it's wrestling all over that does that. But I think most people identify those problems within like the bigger promotions like WWE or AEW.
Of course. Oh man, I remember. Like, GCW. I have like a love for G. I'm like a big supporter, huge fan. But I will say, just like any promotion, when they got that Hammerstein Ballroom show for the first time,
Mhm.
and it was like the war. It was, this was their big event. It became almost like a WrestleMania style event for them, and suddenly you had people that were being booked for the show that were not GCW wrestlers, and they were former WWE, or they were like Jeff Jarrett's, or they were like, and you had people that were suddenly, now half of the card wasn't even GCW talent, and here's your biggest show in the historic arena, and we're getting matches with people that haven't been there. They like, or haven't been in the company and haven't been busting their ass for
So
this.
weird.
And it felt very strange, but it also felt very pro wrestling. Like the second you have a big massive show, they're like, ooh, wait, who else can we book? I mean, now we got the big show. Like, now we got the big event. Let's book. You want to get Mick Foley? And it's like, well, that's awesome, but Why? Like, you don't need
It's
him, you know?
it's like this weekend's WrestleMania. Instead of using actual talent on the roster, they're using Jelly Roll, they're using Pat McAfee, they're using Little Yachty.
Dude, the Pat
I just
McAfee thing is insane. Like the
yeah,
even hearing Rhodes and Orton talk about like how much history they have just between the two of them, how this could have been a legacy feud. Like you're
yeah,
talking about,
exactly. Near 20
uh,
years of history between those 2 guys, you
and
know?
they have family
Co
members in
Co
the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Like
and I mean, Cody made his WWE TV debut against Orton. They coulda used it. They coulda talked about that. They coulda talked about the legacy
absolutely.
stuff. I mean, it's not like Ted DiBiase Jr. is in trouble anymore. I mean, they could bring him
Oh
up a
yeah.
few
Oh,
more
I
times.
wasn't even talking about the team legacy. Yeah, I was talking about their
Oh, just the
fathers, their
legacy in
heritage, their
general.
you know,
Okay.
like their families are synonymous. Like again, this is a built-in. This is a WrestleMania feud that's been waiting to happen for decades,
Exactly, and
and you
I
throw
was so
in
pumped, man, but then, yeah, they threw it away.
oh,
They
it's
trashed.
baffling. That's one of those decisions that is absolutely jaw-dropping. Like it's insane to me. Like you couldn't have found a way to throw them into like the Judgment Day feud or something. I don't know, man. Like come up with any other match on this card. But the two main events were already set. The Oba Brock is set. Like there are matches that made themselves.
You know,
And
it's almost like they're, Cody and Randy at this point are background characters to Pat McAfee and Jelly Roll.
oh, 100%. No, they're being played a second fiddle. I mean, it took all the focus off of them.
Mhm, and people think I'm joking, but like I said, if Randy wins the title at Mania, you'll probably see a championship match between him and Jelly Roll at some point. I mean, they just at today at WWE World, they just showed off 2 new upcoming figures from Mattel. Like they have the LJN style Jelly Roll and they have the Elite figure of Jelly Roll. So I'm like, so they're going to be using him. It looks like more and more. I mean, and they even kind of like highlighted on TV, like he's doing like, he's going all in. He's doing the training and everything. He's
I don't care.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, it's just it's whatever, man. But like people think I'm joking. It's like, but no, like if Randy wins the title, you'll probably see this continue this him
Oh,
and
for
Jelly Roll
sure.
thing. They'll
Oh,
have a match for the title or something. I mean, I would not be shocked at this point if they put the title on Jelly Roll.
right. And it'll be the Dude Wipes Jelly Roll heavyweight title.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand. Like I want to say that those are TKO decisions. I mean, because of like with all the advertising that they've kind of like enforced since them and WWE combined and all that. I, but still, I mean, I get it. Like, yeah, they're making more money. They're, as Triple H likes to say in all the post shows, like we broke the gate record of like so many thousands or whatever. Like he
Hmm.
does that every show. Like
And
that's
it's a
just
new era. It's like
yeah,
every two months
it's
we're
a
in a new
TKO
era.
thing, man, for sure. Like, especially if and as much as like Vince is a terrible person, I think if he were already dead, he'd probably be rolling in his grave, knowing that there were all this advertising for these different companies on the ring mat and stuff, and
On
just
the
everywhere
tables.
on the
Like
tables. I mean, it's
literally
everywhere,
on the table.
everywhere.
It's really everything. I mean, again, I saw a meme that had like, the logos put into Demon Balor or Demon Finn Balor's makeup, and it's because what was it? I've seen dude wipes on Dominic Mysterio's T-shirt,
Yes, I
literally
was going to
on
mention
the
that.
shirt print, and it's like, man, have they ever done this? Like, I mean, I've seen people wear like a Slim Jim shirt, but
Mhm.
not like a Jimmy Uso Slim Jim shirt. Like that's weird. Like,
Yeah. I just
'cause I re-
I don't get it, man. It's like I said, it's a different time for sure. I mean, the only thing you can do is just kind of like find the positives in it all and enjoy it the most you
but
can.
yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, look, I've had people that are like, "Oh, I don't watch WWE because they're in with Trump and I'm like, man, again, dude, like, I. like, I'm not gonna just stop eating Taco Bell because one of the guys from Taco Bell donates to some charity that I don't like or whatever. Like,
Right.
again, there's everything is owned by like five people, so there's a good chance you're
I'm
supporting
not
some
gonna stop
horrible
eating
shit.
Subway because Jared is a pervert.
That's the thing, man. Like there's gonna be somebody tied to everything, and
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I know for a fact that a lot of the wrestlers I enjoy are still stand up people, and
Mhm.
like and they're not being neutered either. So when you have people like CM Punk getting you to call out other people, and then when it like if athletes or if the people are able to talk and just say what they feel, then that's fine for me. Like they're not being told, hey, you're not able to talk about this, or you're not able to stand up for what you believe in, or you're not whatever. But they don't have to do that. And so until that starts, I'm just, like I'm just gonna watch my wrestling, and I'm gonna watch wrestlers do their thing.
Same
And
here.
I'd like to take. I wish I could take some things or some pages out of certain books, like Matt Cardona. I mean, he doesn't talk about anything but wrestling. You know what I mean? That's the whole. If you follow if you follow Cardona, you're getting toys, wrestling, his wife, his journeys, that's it. Like it's all entertainment. It's all his world, and making it what it is he wants it to be. And so I'm gonna follow all those types of people, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna support all my favorite wrestlers because they're out there busting their ass, doing their thing, trying to make a dime too.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way because at the end of the day, I mean, unless we're involved in the actual wrestling business and we know these guys, which we personally don't, we're all we are today are just fans. And, I, I just, and I understand, a lot of fans get frustrated with things they see on TV and they want to do a lot of like what I call armchair booking and stuff.
Hmm.
But, like, at the end of the day, like, that's I mean, you don't have to make it all about, like, to where it's so negative that, like, it almost makes you, not enjoy the product. It makes you, just miserable and like, well, if it's gonna continue this way, then I'm just gonna stop watching wrestling altogether.
See,
Like,
I don't understand that at all.
I
Like,
don't
like
understand that mentality at all.
I've heard multiple people say things like that, and I'm like you just turn it off like that, like
Like, dude,
you
I have
just suddenly
watched
not care at all.
wrestling for, like, 36 years or 35, 36 years now of my life, and I've never once, like, took a break from it. I've watched it, like,
Neither have I. Like, well, since I
so
started, like,
and I have witnessed a lot of bad shit. But it's nothing to the effect to where like, well, I'm never watching this shit again. You know, I just I mean, because I just have too much respect for the art of it all, of what
oh
they
yeah.
do, what they bust their ass to get to certain points to where they're on TV. Because there's some people out there that will bust their ass and never get on TV. I
Hmm.
mean, to me, wrestling is, and I've said this multiple times here on my channel, but wrestling is the most unique art form to ever exist in my mind because of
Yeah.
just how much all is involved, what goes into it, the creativeness of everything within it. It's just it's 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 a wonderful thing if you can really get invested in it, like people like myself and you,
Hmm.
get invested in it. Then it's a wonderful thing sometimes.
Oh man, it's probably my favorite thing. Like outside of artwork, it's
Too.
what. Yeah, it's just it's been a constant for decades. No matter what's going on in my life, like I know for a fact, like, well, all right, I'll catch up on wrestling in a couple days, or well, I'll have to watch that in a minute. Or if I missed that episode and I'm like too far behind on this, or too, I'm gonna watch I watch WrestleMania videos, and
Mm.
I get my updates on like news and stuff. I don't really get on like dirt sheets or anything anymore. But
Oh,
nowadays the whole internet is a dirt sheet, so
yep.
I mean, if you just my Twitter algorithm is nothing but like wrestlers and politics. It's like pretty much all it is, and so yeah, wrestling is. I'm assuming it'll just be around forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Until the
I hope
cockroaches are
so.
gone. Like, yeah, same man. Like,
Because of I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and he knows like what a big wrestling fan I am and everything, and he just kind of randomly said to me, he said, "Man, I really find it." admirable how committed you've stayed to wrestling since we were kids. He's like, you've never really stopped watching it, have you? I'm like, no. It's just he said that's really like something I aspire to do with something one day. I always like to think of you like you'll watch wrestling till you die, and I was yeah, I probably will. So I mean, it's just sometimes we just people just have their things that they're just they find that they click with, and they just it's even if it gets there's bad times that happen within it, it's hard to give it up.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I'm sure it's like anybody that's a massive, baseball fan, or like, let's say you're from Boston, and the Red Sox haven't won a pennant in 40 years, but I'm goddamn if they're gonna win it this year. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like that. It's the way I am with wrestling.
That's how my
It's
father-in-law was with, the UK Wildcats, the basketball team. Like, he was such a fan of them, and, like and even they went through several years of, like, terrible seasons as a team, and I would just see him, like, kinda, like, just be so frustrated. I would see, like, his facial features, they would just change where he would be so angry
mm-hmm,
with
mm-hmm.
them, and to me, like, that's what I admire. Even if you're angry, if you're, complete opposite, you're happy with what you're watching. I just love seeing that passion in people for
Oh
something.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I love hearing the stories of, like, oh man, I was watching like wrestling with my grandfather, like, and the grandfather or the grandmother was like yelling at the television and yelling at this, and it's like, yeah, they're like in their 70s and their 80s, and they're watching wrestling still, and I feel like, yeah, that's gonna be me. I don't picture a time when I'm not gonna care about who's wrestling at this point, or
Right.
who's main eventing this, or well, what's the card of WrestleMania? It's like like I don't know. I just don't know when I'm not gonna care. But
It's like, I'm a huge Roddy Piper fan, but, like, I didn't really, like, start getting to see him wrestle more till it was towards the end of his career. Because when he came in to WCW, that was getting close to the end of his career, in the '90s.
right.
And, but, I would find a lot of these younger guys, the cruiserweights in WCW. I started becoming a huge fan of them and would follow them all throughout their careers. And that's just the wonderful thing to me about wrestling is like, as the years go by, more and more and more of these new guys come in and you follow them. Like, there's so many new people coming in right now to
Oh yeah.
like, Obafemi. I mean,
Oh man,
that guy is going to be huge. I can
that's
already
the
see
same.
like
Yeah,
that guy's
yeah.
gonna
I
be
feel the
a
same way about him.
top
Like,
star, and it's wonderful just to kind of just to feel that to understand that. But I think that might be the problem with a lot of fans nowadays that are kind of more the much younger generation that are kind of got into it in the past maybe 5 to 10 years. Um, Maybe they have these thoughts, these opinions on wrestling, these negative comments that they make about it, just because they kind of haven't really fully lived it enough to really understand and just respect it enough. But I don't know. That could just be me.
well, I mean, if you watch it long enough, you're gonna see it ebb and flow. You're gonna see, there's been times where it's like, oh, I don't watch SmackDown. It's the worst show ever. I'll just catch the highlights on Monday night. But then suddenly you start seeing highlights, and you're like, holy shit, that happened on SmackDown. And then you're watching
Yeah,
SmackDown again,
exactly.
and then I mean, and you go through that, and then there's times where you're like, oh man, dude, I hate this current champion, but I still want to watch this person, and I still want to watch this person, and I'm still going to see
Yeah,
this guy lose, whatever it is, and we've seen the debut and the retirement of John Cena. You know what I mean? Like you're talking about one of the like a Hulk Hogan style, and I mean transcending Hulk Hogan style. Like I'm talking like going into, he went into movies and he stayed in movies, and he
mhm.
went into television and became a mainstay until he literally anything he does, that guy's like a renaissance man. I mean, he plays fucking piano, he taught himself Mandarin, like it's crazy. But
No,
we
it's so impressive.
it's wild, and there's not many. That's where I'm saying that, like it's one of those generational types of talents that comes
Mhm.
along very rarely. But we saw him debut with no character, no personality, wearing blue, and just a
Yeah.
little spiky haircut. I mean, and again, I love that kind of stuff. Like that. That's amazing to me. And then to see people like Randy Orton debut, being like nobody, and then suddenly it's like he's this this iconic, he's a future Hall of Fame. He is who he is now, and it's just it's fun to see the build. I remember even when Roman was starting to come up, and not buying into all the push and just being like, ah, dude, I'm not into Roman at all. And then once he became the heel and came back, and 2020 rolled around,
He
it was
really
almost
reinvented
like,
himself, man.
well,
It's like a completely different guy from what they were doing with him before.
that's the thing, is they stopped being the corporate, like, owner of a toy. Like Roman Reigns, they literally, with the goatee, with the glove, with the vest, with the, it was like they made him an action figure. They made him a toy. And so even when they wanted him to look tough and look strong, he was very scripted, very polished, very whatever. And once he was able to grow his beard and come back, and not have to wear a shirt, and not have to wear a shield or a fucking
Do you
plastic
remember
vest,
when
and
they had him wearing like the baby blue
oh
contacts?
God, that was horrible.
Yeah,
Like, dude, they tried everything except for letting him be himself.
right.
They literally tried everything. And then if you look back at his early time, or his early years now on video, you see it. You see his baby fat. You see he doesn't have like the ringtone, that he doesn't have he's just not who he became, and the way he is now, it's like, man, I look at Roman as just a main event. He's another one of the top guys, like, and I don't look at him as a phony top guy. I don't look at him as like yeah, we get it, he's a top guy, like when they were trying to say like, oh, Heidenreich's gonna beat the Undertaker, and you're like, oh, what? Like, no, you weren't. You
Did
were
you
like,
see like he resurfaced here recently, and
yeah,
he works at like a Walmart somewhere?
yeah, and he looked good, man. Like I
I was
thought he
like,
looked.
wow, that's so crazy sometimes. Like when you see like guys like that were on WWE at one point in their lives, and then they just kind of just get out of wrestling, later on in their life and just become just regular people like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it's wild to think about, but it's also like, man, I can't imagine wrestling for 20 plus years. Some of the guy,
Right.
like, look at Jericho. Jericho just came back in the best shape of his life. And I'm like,
Mm,
dude, what the fuck? You're 50 something years old. Like, how are you still wrestling? Like
it's
Mysterio just came back and they inserted him into the ladder match. And I'm like, how are you still wrestling? Like, I remember when you had your second or third knee surgery, and I was like,
Yeah,
well, that's
he
it.
just
That's it.
didn't
He's never
he just came back from an injury and
just came back.
immediately put into a ladder match.
And it's like a 6 man or 8 man. Like, what
Yeah.
are you doing? But again, some of these guys, they don't have an off button, and I mean, and I can understand how it would be very difficult to give it up, or to put an end to it, if you're used to going out and getting the pop from the crowd and putting in, and just the high flying, the exhilaration. I mean, look, Darby Allin is jumping off of mountains in between wrestling because
Yeah.
he's an adrenaline guy. Like, he's gonna do it whether or not he's in a ring.
The only thing that worries me about Darby Allen is that because he's very unpredictable with what he does, like all this stuff. I mean, that guy just has no fear. I mean, you could make if with the stuff that he's done, like I don't know if it's like a mental thing with him, but man, I feel like he's going to end up killing himself at some point, or he's going to end up in a wheelchair. One,
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, it's like, it's one thing to be fearless, but it's also like, and we talk about seeing people grow and seeing people age. I mean, look at Jackass, like
Mhm.
when I mean, I remember watching the CKY 2K video with some friends, before Jackass was even on MTV, and thinking like, holy shit, these guys are crazy, and then you see them doing it weekly on TV. Then you see them doing it in movies, and it's like, dude, Johnny Knoxville is now at a point where he can't take another headshot, or he's likely to die.
Yeah,
And
because it was
like,
like the one of the movies they were filming, like didn't like he get the bull hit him or
it was
something.
just it was Jackass Forever, the last movie that they put out. He did another bull stunt. He does one in almost every movie, and
Mhm.
this one he got such bad head trauma that he was like in a
Yeah, that's
coma,
it.
or like out for a day, something ridiculous, to the point where they said you cannot endure another concussion. And so he's had to, even in the new movie, he's had to back off from doing certain stunts, and he's only able to do certain things now because he
Oh,
can't
they're
risk
doing
another
another
headshot.
movie?
Yeah, it comes out this summer.
Oh, I
Um,
didn't know about that one.
yeah, and so the thing is, it's like some of these people, man, they can't. How many times can you? And we don't even know about some of the devastating injuries because some of these guys suffer things. I mean, look at Bianca Belair, a freak injury with her finger, and
Yeah,
now she
they're
might
saying
lose
that
a finger.
yeah, they're saying she may end up losing that finger. That's
Like that's
crazy.
insane because that's another, she's one of those talents that I thought there's
Mhm.
no chance this woman is not main event for the rest of her career, because she, from the very beginning, from NXT days, she was doing feats of
Yeah,
strength
she's
that
so
were
good.
outrageous. And then she had the look, the personality, she had the gimmick, she had the hair whip, she had literally everything you need. And then
Mhm.
a
I
tiny
think
a
she also,
weird,
like, makes her own attires too, like
I think you're right, dude. Like that, it's one of those things. Like, she's a multi-talented, like, has
mhm,
it all, jack of all trades kind of thing. She's the type of person you want to have on your roster, and you can trust her. Like, she hasn't injured people and things like that.
mhm.
And a freak. So, I mean, dude, something you just can't control. I mean, yeah, it could be over in an instant. Like Big E, it could be over in an instant,
Yep.
and it's horrifying, especially to think that something so small or so mundane seeming can be devastating and
What
career ending.
sucks about the Big E thing, man, is, like, that injury happened not that long after his WWE Championship run,
I know. Oh, he
so
was
I
still
feel
positioned to be a massive solo
yeah,
star.
exactly.
Like that was,
It's
he
heartbreaking, man.
absolutely, man. I hate that kind of stuff, but that's another aspect of wrestling that you sign up for when, even as a fan, is, in the blink of an eye things go wrong. And I mean, Io landed on her
Yeah.
neck last week
Yeah, and
so horribly.
do you think that's why they're not having her on the card this year? Do you think there's more to that injury than what we know about?
I really couldn't even speculate. I have
Because
no
that 'cause
idea.
that spot when she did that suicide dive and missed Asuka, it looked bad, really bad.
It looked horrible, but at the same time, like, if there was an injury or anything keeping her from working a Mania match, they wouldn't have done what they did on Raw and have her fight a full.
True.
In my opinion, I'm saying, like, if they were like, "Whoa, hey, after that fall, you can't go," you know. I just feel like they had to do something on Raw because of the backlash, or because she's not on the card. I mean, how do you go from being where she's been to not even being on the card? I mean, that's like Stratton
Do
last
you
year
have
being
any predictions for that, by the way?
for which
W
match?
with regarding EO, if, like, because it seems like they are gonna do something with her, at Mania with Rhea and the Jade match maybe. Do you have any predictions on that?
I wouldn't mind, I feel like if they're gonna have Jada, or if they're gonna have Jade win, if they're gonna have Jade win, then I feel like it would almost have to be dirty,
Mhm.
uh, to protect, you know, and then they could have Io come in that way, and like try to get some sort of, payback, or try to help, and then inadvertently cost, the match. The same way, I can't even begin to book the Oba Brock match, because I
Yeah.
feel like I would go in a generic, almost like a safe route of some sort of no contest, because they haven't said no DQ. So if there's some sort of shenanigans, and then neither of them looks weak, or because that's the only way, unless Lesnar's willing to do the job just clean, I don't. If you give Oba a loss now, that'd be devastating. Like
I don't think that match goes over 2 minutes, in my
I see.
opinion.
I really don't think so. I feel like they should have it be a barn bug, like have him start just going crazy, maybe even before the belt starts, and they just throw out the match. You know what I mean? I don't know, but have them do some big guy shit. You know what I mean? Because it's gonna start the pay per view. They've already announced that's the opening match, and it's gonna be free on
For
ESPN.
night two, right?
Right, right, and it's gonna be free. Like it's gonna be broadcast on basic ESPN. So I feel like they're gonna do something.
Yeah, I think I see Oba going over in that because
They
it
have to.
yeah,
Like,
but it just worries me too because of the ESPN thing, it being it's starting off night 2 and, like, ESPN's really high on Brock, and
I know, dude. Like that's where
so
it's like, and this
it's
is
worrisome.
TKO. Yeah, that's where it's like I can't even some of these matches I can't even predict
Mm.
because uh I mean I could tell you what I would like to see happen, but I just can't tell you what I think is gonna happen.
But getting back to what you were talking about, though, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you were talking about just like the risk and everything, of just stuff with Bianca Belair and EO. She almost hurted her neck. So where were you going with that? I'm sorry about that.
Oh, it's just something that I feel like that's there's an air of danger. There's an element of danger whenever you're watching wrestling. So where we're talking about all the things that draw us into watching. Whether it be the talent, the personas, the moves, or the storyline. I feel like there's that also that element of danger because you're seeing people. I mean, I remember Paul London was the first person I remember having that because he, when he first debuted on television, that was when I had first gotten familiar with him. Like when he
Against
was,
Brock.
was that his debut?
Yeah, his first match was the WWE Championship match against Brock.
Oh my God. Okay, I forgot about that. I just remember being really impressed with Paul London and
Mhm.
looking up because I knew of the Indies at this point, and I knew a lot of guys come from the Indies, and so I found this is like eBay had just become or YouTube had just become a thing, and I was finding old videos. So then I knew to get on eBay and look up, and so I would find old matches where people were chanting, "Please don't die." You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
As he was prepping to do a move, and I remember thinking like, "Oh my God, that's a chant," and I feel like over the years, man, there's been so many times where I'm surprised we haven't witnessed deaths, like happening because the ladder comes out from someone, or somebody falls off of something the wrong way, or they land because the rope broke or they slipped and fell and it's just I mean we saw just Liv Morgan just getting I mean that didn't even look like they
Oh, yeah,
really
and,
collided that hard.
she was just on Raw too this past Monday, that whole thing,
Hmm.
leading up to the feud with Stephanie, and I don't know if they just had, like, a lot of makeup on or something because you couldn't notice anything
I didn't
under her
see
eyes
anything.
or on her forehead, but then, like, the very next day or whatever, she was on ESPN, and both of her eyes were black. She had a huge purple, like, bruise on her forehead.
Oh, I wonder if that interview was done a couple days earlier. You know what I mean?
I don't
Or
know because then I seen photos today from her meet and greet at WWE World. Still has the black eyes, the big bruise on her forehead.
okay, so maybe she
So
was heavily made up.
yeah, that's
That's
what I'm
interesting.
thinking because like it really fucked her up for real. And I seen like photos of Roxanne as well. She didn't look nearly as bad. I guess
Well, she still
yeah,
looked beat up, but
yeah.
yeah, like man, that again, it's human bodies colliding. So even something that looks as like if it looks comfortable or it looks like oh he caught him perfectly, it's like yeah, but that's still 200 plus pounds falling
Right.
onto a person, and and they're in the middle. They might be out of breath. They might be sweaty and slippery. They might be tired or
Mhm.
whatever it is, and things get harder and harder to accomplish,
Right.
like
Um,
seamlessly.
So I have a few more questions for you. And before I get in, I just want to thank you again, man, for taking time to do this. I really appreciate it. This has been an excellent conversation we've had this far.
Yeah, totally.
But let me go ahead and ask you. So we talked about your history pretty much, and as a wrestling fan, how it's kind of evolved over the years, and you just kind of like a lot of us wrestling fans, you just gain knowledge from watching and just kind of behind the scenes stuff, what you see on TV and so forth. So what out of all of that, what is your most favorite thing, and also what is your least favorite thing about being a wrestling fan?
Uh man, my favorite thing about being a wrestling fan is just all the things like all the different the moves, all the different, the highs and just the excitement and feeling like you're in on something, that
Right.
a lot of people aren't in on, and
Very
so
inclusive. Yeah.
yeah. But then as far as like something I don't like about being a wrestling fan is being thought of as just a wrestling fan. You know what I mean? Like if I bring up wrestling with like in-laws or not even in-laws, but like somebody that's
You
not in
don't want to
my
be
group, or
stereotyped.
the second it comes out that like, oh wait, you do something for wrestling, or oh wait, you go into a wrestling show, or wait, what, that's a wrestling shirt or something, like what, you watch wrestling. It used to be a joke amongst like my buddies and I, where if one of us started dating someone, we would be like, Have you told her yet?" Like, and it's like, told her, "Oh, no, 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 I haven't told, no, no," and it's like about our wrestling habit.
Yeah.
And it would just be because, years ago, you didn't really want to lead off with, "Hey, I'm a huge wrestling fan," and just because of the negative connotations that people, they just immediately think
Yeah.
wrestling fans, but it's almost like I
Why do you
grew
think
up.
that is, though? Why do you think
Well,
that we
the
get, like, such a negative, like, immediate negative response from people that aren't familiar with wrestling, and they're like, "Oh, he's a that stuff's fake, right? How do you like this? Why do you watch that stuff at all? It's stupid, it's just guys running around in their underwear, rolling around with each other." Those kinda comments. It's just like so I get what you're saying.
I feel like the reason that people do that is it goes back to the classic nerd type culture. Okay, I grew up as a comic book collector. I was a big fan of superheroes and comics and stuff, and my whole life I was told that's nerdy. And I'm like, well, okay, like I'm nerdy then, and with wrestling, the only thing you ever really see, like there was a time like in the late 90s, early 2000s, where you would see wrestlers on MTV. You would see wrestlers in, like they had wrestling themed
Saturday Night
restaurants. They
Live.
had, yeah, absolutely. You would just see them, and it was like, oh, whoa, cool, and even if you didn't watch wrestling, you were like, that's a wrestler. Okay, cool. But over time, you also started to get the viral videos. And so for somebody that doesn't watch wrestling, like I remember when I first heard somebody use the term cosplay, they were like, "Yeah, I'm doing cosplay," at this convention. I'm like, "Oh, isn't that like a sex thing?" And I was only familiar with cosplay through like HBO Real Sex because I'm so old, and again, I feel like if somebody from the outside is seeing a wrestling video, a viral video of a guy like, "It's still real to me, damn it," and cry, and whatever, then that might to them say, "Oh, wrestling fans," they think it's real,
Right.
and then they start to immediately relate that to, well, if they think it's real, they're probably a little slow, or, oh, they're probably like,
Yeah.
a little down, on the level of intelligent or whatever. And it's like, man, again, it just goes with any subculture, any nerd culture of thing, that you get really into. I know people that are, if you see a guy that's really into like hardcore bands, you're like, oh, they probably, that guy's probably a mosh pit. He probably smells like cigarette butts, or he probably, and meanwhile, the guy's like, dude, I'm a bank teller, man. I just love, I love going to Pantera shows. I love, whatever. And it's like, you, you have stereotypes because those people exist,
Yeah.
and they become memes, or they become viral for certain things. And you get the fan, like you saw recently, what, some fan being asked a question, he's like, I want to see a bra and panties match, and I want to see this, that, and people, and that went viral, like, yeah, well, this is the wrestling crowd, they just and it's some goober guy who's also like, I think probably, dealing with some sort of mental issue too, and he just was like, they just found him sitting outside, but that's the clip that goes viral. You know what I mean?
Right,
And
and
so,
and then we're kind of all of us other wrestling fans that are not in that kind of mentality. We're just all bunched
of
together and
course, yeah, you're
we're
just a wrestling fan. I mean, like I remember when, you remember WWE running an ad campaign a long time ago, where, I mean, and when I say a long time ago, I mean like 20 years maybe,
yeah,
where it was like they would show a lawyer or a doctor, and they're like, I'm a by day I'm an ER surgeon or whatever, and they're like, my favorite superstar is John Cena, or my favorite superstar is Kurt Angle, and then but it would show like people that had business or like office job or whatever, and they were wrestling fans, or it would show a celebrity, and he'd be like, my favorite wrestling or my favorite superstar is this person, and I feel like they were trying to make it like, look, everybody fucking watches wrestling, like, and I think over the years, more and more people realize that it isn't just one type of person into anything. Like you can say, oh man, you're into rap music. I don't think that that you're a weed smoking gangbanger. Like there's just there's so you just love rap music, man. That's why I feel like you have cliches of everything, but I
Yeah.
just feel wrestling always gets that immediate like
I think it's never gonna change either. I think it's probably always gonna be that
it
way.
probably will, because people pass that shit down. Like I said, my dad, it's fake. And that's all it took for me to go, all right, it's fake, And if I didn't have some friends that needed to watch it at my place, because they were watching wrestling before they watched it at my place. I just never watched it with them. So they were going to watch it regardless. But the fact is, I caught it one night and suddenly I was like, whoa, this isn't what I thought it was, And then from that point on, I'm like, you guys don't understand. You got to watch this match. No way, you don't understand. You got to watch this one, And I've turned lots of people onto wrestling, or shown
Yeah,
people things
same.
over the years where they're like, holy shit, I didn't know that that's what wrestling was, or
But,
whatever.
like my son, like, of course, like, when my son was born, the he was born on a Sunday, so the very next day was Monday Night Raw, and, like, so I spent, like, the day after he was born, I'm, like, holding him, we're sitting in the hospital room watching Monday Night Raw, and I'm like, I wanna try to, turn him onto wrestling, get him in, but, like, he's never been into it, and, like, I don't force it on him, because I let him do his own thing, let him, like,
Hmm.
so I'm like, because I tried to take him to a few shows, and maybe I just like kind of tried to introduce him to him at the wrong time because the first ever show I took him to was a house show, and it was during the time that Roman was feuding with Baron Corbin. They were
Oh boy.
ironically doing the dog food stuff that
Oh
Punk
boy.
couldn't do in the promo. And so there was that going on, and then like the Fiend, Bray Wyatt's the Fiend wrestled at that show, and he was just scared to death of the Fiend. He's like, I don't like this evil clown guy, and
Gotcha.
so like I think that just kind of like it wasn't his thing, and this. Like I said, he sees me watching it every now and then, but he's just never really gotten into it. But fortunately, like just like myself, my nephew, who he's just 7 right now, he just kind of naturally got into it by just he found it. I didn't introduce it to him. His dad didn't introduce it to him or anything because my brother-in-law is also a big wrestling fan. He just found it on YouTube of all things,
Huh.
and he just started watching the videos of like different wrestlers, their history. He doesn't sit through like and watch like full episodes of Raw and SmackDown right now. But instead he just watches like highlights and stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
But he learns from that way, and he's become a fan that way, and he has a huge, like, massive wrestling figure collection. And like, we took him to his first show last year, which was a Monday Night Raw, which was in Louisville, and it was like the day after Sabu had passed away.
Okay.
So like, on the way down there, me and him sat in like the back seat of the vehicle, and I was like showing him videos of matches of Sabu and like ECW stuff, and like so he like loves it all, the new stuff, and he loves the old stuff at that young of an age. So
Wow.
at least I have him to kind of connect with on that.
Yeah.
Me and my son, of course, we connect on other things. Like
Of
he loves like
course.
horror movies and stuff. Like he did like we went to a horror hound weekend
Oh,
event,
I remember.
and he dressed up as Dr. Loomis, and he
Yes, dude, it was incredible. That was
yeah, and he ended up
incredible.
that was his first ever like costume contest. He won his first ever costume contest, and like
And was probably
and,
treated like a star.
yeah, and I tried, and everybody like loved it, and then like I tried to get him to like do it again, and he's like, "Nah, I'm one and done, Dad. I've won it. So I think I'm good now."
Hey,
So
he's
I'm
going
like,
out on
okay,
top. You know what I mean? That's
but
awesome.
But last question I have for you, man, is I ask everyone. So when it comes to your favorites of all time, not necessarily who you think is the greatest of all time, but just your four personal favorites of all time, who's on that Mount Rushmore for you and why are they there?
Oh man, you know, it's hard to say of all time, uh, but some of my favorites to just go back and watch. I Kurt Angle is to
Hell
this
yeah.
day still one of just my favorite wrestling figures, but also personalities. Because you want to talk about doing some comedy stuff, even like when he was
Yeah.
teaming with Stone Cold, when him and
Mhm.
when they had that back and forth, like that was early on in my wrestling, years, and man, I remember being like, this guy is crazy because I only knew him for a little bit as Kurt Angle, like the serious guy, before I started seeing him do the goofy shit. But then you would see him do the most incredible wrestling.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God. So no matter how goofy he got, he was the shit.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
he always reminded you, and so from early on, you hear the broken neck and the rest. You're just like, oh my God, this guy's a monster. And along those same lines, Brock Lesnar, watching him come in and then seeing how smoothly and how quickly he took to wrestling, and then when he left, and how like I remember one of my buddies was a former MMA, like he did MMA, and he was really in college. I mean, he was the guy who got us into watching UFC, and he only had UFC tapes at this point. And this is back when they were like in bars, and it was like Tank Abbott and like Silva and all.
Dance
And they
Ever.
Yes, Severn, dude, and they were like punching each other in the balls, and they were like literally like headbutting each other. There were things that were just horrifying. But either way, like I remember years and years later, I'm out of college, like we've all moved on and whatever, and I was talking with this guy about Brock because he knew I was still a huge wrestling fan, and he was like, "Man, I'm telling you right now, Brock's not going to make it, dude. Like in UFC, he's not going to make it." And then that first fight happened against Mir, and my buddy Tony calls me to be like, okay, listen, I know he lost, but he turned Mir's face into hamburger, and Mir is somebody you don't mess with. And he's like, I've never seen somebody like Brock move like this. And
Yeah.
he was like, I swear to Christ, that guy will be a champion one day. And this was the same guy who told me, dude, he's not gonna make. He's a wrestler. He's not gonna make. And then suddenly, like changed his tune. And so when he came back, I saw a different mentality of Brock, and I saw Brock giving to wrestling, like literally selling like I hadn't seen before. Or when he came back and blood had been banned, and that first night back, he like busted his head right into the turnbuckle or into the post. He was like wrestling up against Cena, I want to say, when he came back, but like he busted his head wide open and bled
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah,
And
that was the, Extreme Rules match, I think.
I think so. And he was like pushing people away, keeping them from cleaning up. And it was like, dude, he went right back to being a top level monster. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so to me, I don't have to love the guy as a person or even be, I don't
yeah.
necessarily want to break bread with the guy or hang out with him, but he's one of my top talents. And then Undertaker was always one of those guys, and not even necessarily for the persona, but just for the I mean, decades, and being like that stone, that figure that everyone would go to, and hearing all the stories, and because I'm big on listening to podcasts and listening to stories from the road, and I've got a stack of old DVDs from WWE when they would put together those retrospectives and those home movie video releases. I would get them. And so he was another guy I thought was just a stellar like wrestler, but also like, man, that guy would do anything for the business.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he would every match was just like, man,
He
legendary.
protected his character for man, so long.
Absolutely. That's why I think he can do anything he wants now with that character. Like he can do any like go off and be as goofy and do all the out of
I
character
think
things. Like
he's booking the AAA shows now, so
that's what I heard. Yeah, yeah. Like
yeah,
and and
and I don't know if you've been watching the AAA
I
shows or not.
saw the last one with the
They're
El Grande
fantastic.
Americano,
Yes,
like yeah, like so that's awesome
good.
to me because yes, keep him involved, man. Like that's the way it's been even when I first started watching, and you would see Sergeant Slaughter coming out helping, and he was a backstage agent at this point. But it
Mhm.
was like, oh my God, I remember seeing him from back in the day on clips, on TV and
And you
stuff.
see that stuff with like when Dean Malenko was working for WWE as an
Absolutely.
agent, and you see him sometimes.
Jamie Noble
Yeah,
and
like Jamie
Shane
Noble
Helms.
nowadays, and Petey Williams, and
Hmm.
Hurricane, and like Kenny Dykstra from the Spirit Squad is
Oh
out
yeah,
there.
Sean
Yeah,
Davari and stuff.
Davari.
Yeah, yeah. You see a lot of those. I love it, man. That's the way it should be. And yeah, Abyss even. You having all these guys that have put in their paid their dues. Um, but then like man, see like there's so many because like Eddie Guerrero was another one of those guys. Like man, I cried when that guy died. Like
Dude,
he's
you know what's funny? Well, it's not really funny, but like, I'll every now and then watch that Johnny Cash Hurt tribute video to Eddie Guerrero, and like, and I'll still like get really emotional watching it, just because that to this day is probably the one wrestler that hurt more than any other that has passed away.
Mhm.
From that time on, like I don't know, it was just all of a sudden like he was like still like in really good shape. He was like
Oh yeah.
they were working towards an angle between him and Batista at the time, and him getting the title back.
Oh yeah.
So like it just, and I just love that guy, man. That was a guy that truly had a passion for what he did,
Oh,
and
dude, everything.
he's one of the all. I mean, he's probably my top 5 of all time, man.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's just one of those where I couldn't imagine being a pro wrestling fan, like and having missed Eddie Guerrero or his run, and even man, yeah, just seeing him going from being this cruiserweight mullet guy to just being top of the mountain and you believe everything you did, you saw him put in the work, and and you would hear the stories from other guys, and you would just be like, man, that guy's the real
Yeah, and
deal.
and I was watching this interview with JBL, and JBL pretty much credits Eddie Guerrero entirely for what he got put in that character as JBL, and they really put him over as the champion for the longest time.
Oh
And
yeah.
the feud between him and Eddie, so he credits Eddie 100% for getting him to that position, because Eddie fought for him to be there, because he I think JBL said he was at the point in his life where he thought that he wasn't ever going to be a main eventer. He wasn't ever going to be like a top star
Gotcha. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
wrestling. But Eddie really like went to bat for him, and it's like, hey, I want to do this program with Bradshaw, and because he was getting ready to kind of evolve into that JBL character, because he was like, I think he had just put out a book or something like on the stock market and all
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds about right.
So that's why they kind of really just took that and evolved that into his on-screen character in wrestling. So yeah, we have Eddie Guerrero to thank for JBL.
But man, I mean, I still remember watching that match from Judgment Day. I was at BW3s. We were watching it on all the screens of BW3s here, and my God, like the amount of blood
But
and people, like
he almost
there were
died
people
in
in the
that match.
dude. It was uncomfortable. Like even as wrestling fans, we were like, "Fucking stop this match! Like stop
Mhm.
this match! Like you can see this is not gonna go well." Like, and yeah, but again, you went away from that thinking the absolute world of Eddie Guerrero for finishing, and think, okay, that guy's a monster. But then also JBL. I mean, even his feud with Cena put him into another stratosphere. Like Dare I Quit Matt, or just different like legendary moments that solidify something. It's like when you're watching Stone Cold passing out instead of tapping out and having the blood coming from. He's never gonna not be the hardest, baddest motherfucker after that moment. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna say, "Holy shit!" Like no matter what happens, even when he's 80, you're gonna be like, "Dude, did you? Let me show you this moment." And then you go back, and it's
Yeah.
like you can't undo making somebody that star, that kind of uh, uh, person. I mean, on that level, like once you see them do certain things, it's like one of those, like it's almost like an unaccomplishable feat that they pull off, and you're like, well, never mind, that's my guy.
That and so Eddie would be your fourth on that
I
Mount
think
Rushmore.
so, yeah.
Man, that's a
But then,
killer Mount Rushmore.
man, but there's just so many people that could
Yeah,
be
it is.
like where I'm
Well,
like, God, but how do you be, like
and
I
you
don't
cause and if you're like me, like mine doesn't stay consistent.
know.
Like
Yeah,
mine, like out Sting and Bret Hart are the two mainstays that are always on my Mount Rushmore. But like right now, if you ask me, I would say Sting, Bret Hart, Dusty Rhodes, Roddy Piper. But maybe a year from now, I might get heavily into Terry Funk stuff and say Terry Funk's in my top four,
right, right,
or
right,
whatever, or whoever. You know what I mean? Like, I may just get heavily into like a lot of ECW stuff. I was like, oh well, Ravens in my top four, Tommy Dreamer or the Sandman or whoever.
right, right.
But 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 like I said, it never stays consistent. But like Sting and Bret Hart are always on there for me, and it's funny because they both have the same finishing move. Um,
Right, the score, yeah, yeah. Well, the scorpion or the sharpshooter,
Sharpshooter,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Totally, no,
But
it's amazing.
I just love both those guys because, like Sting, well, he was the first wrestler I ever got into. He's a reason why I became a fan. But Bret Hart, man, just like he made me appreciate technical wrestling so much early on, and that's why I kind of like went and became fans of guys like Dean Malenko, like Kurt Angle, like Brian Daniels.
Yeah, yeah. People that were actually like, man, technical holds and actual submissions and actual like maneuvers and
Yeah.
man, like strong style stuff. We haven't even really, I don't know, the Japanese stuff. Like I remember getting tapes from a store in town called Wild and Woolly, and
Oh, yeah, it's not there anymore, but I remember
no,
I've been there.
yeah, man, and I've
Good
still
place.
when they were going out of business, I even ended up buying a couple of like their Japanese wrestling tapes and a couple of
Hmm.
their old, like I've still got like old Chikara and old, whatever. But just because, yeah, I mean, they have their own style. That like every people have their there's the lucha styles, there's the English style, there's the strong style from Japan, then you have the hardcore style, then you have the death match, but then you have the traditional technical stuff. There's just so many different
There's
things,
so much, and
and
like
getting to see wrestlers fight different wrestlers from different styles, from different promotions, from different countries. It's just I love it.
yeah, I do too, man. That's one of my favorite things about wrestling. Really, is that especially when I can go online and find something that I've never seen before, like
Hmm.
a promotion or a match or whatever it may be, like. And just when you do that kind of cross promotion stuff, especially with like from other countries like New Japan or CMLL or AAA, which WWE owns AAA now, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, it just I love seeing that, and I like that WWE is working with TNA now, and then they own AAA, and like so that's something I would never thought would occur. I and I would love to see them work with AEW and come together and collaborate. I would love to see. I know a lot of people are probably against that, but I mean, why not?
Yeah, but I feel eventually down the road it will happen. I mean,
I hope
they're
so, man. I would love to see it.
yeah, my cat's getting rambunctious.
Oh.
But yeah, I feel like eventually they're gonna start. They'll do something together.
But man, once again, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you just taking time to do the show. It means a lot to me. Is there anything else that you want to add or say, or do you have anything coming up that you wanted to promote or anything?
Well, first off, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate you even
Problem,
asking,
man.
to do this. This has been a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm gonna put over somebody else right now. I'm gonna put over Powerbomb Entertainment. Like they're a new promotion,
Hmm.
and they've got a wrestling show coming out called or coming up called Fighting on Logan Street, and it's here in Louisville. And they've got a couple of different events coming up that are like Mick Foley is doing a comedy event for them, an evening with Mick Foley, and then they're doing the Fighting on Logan Street, and so I just did a T-shirt design for them and got to help out with like their logo and stuff, and so and they're awesome guys, Steve and Brian from you might know them if you watched the Wrestlers reality show on Netflix.
Oh,
Uh,
with OVW.
yeah, Brian Kennison is he was the announcer and one of
Oh,
the
okay,
behind the
okay.
scene guys. But yeah, this is their new promotion and new production company, and so
So he's not with OVW anymore.
no, no.
Oh, okay.
But again, like wrestling, there's changes. There's always changing.
Right.
People can come
Exactly.
back. People can start from here, and I feel like they're all still on good terms. I feel,
Right.
that there's working. Yeah, nothing sour as far as I know. But it's just
Oh, that's good.
another awesome, another promotion to have, another tool or another way to get wrestlers into town and to see talent compete. So I'm pretty excited about that, and that's
And
been the most recent stuff I was working on.
when did you say that event was going to be again?
I want to say coming up in May. I don't know the exact day, but you can look up Powerbomb on Instagram, Facebook, and all that
Okay.
stuff. But yeah, they're just getting going, and they've already got two events lined up, and so that's been the most recent stuff I was just doing, and it is wrestling related. So I'm also still working on those deathmatch kid cards.
Oh yeah, and I wish I'd shown some of those off too because I love those too. Like because you just have death match wrestling mixed with garbage pail kids, basically.
Oh, yeah, they seem like Reese's peanut
That's a
butter
good
cups. It's
idea,
like,
man. It's
no, thanks, man. They're just two of my favorite things, I think. So, wrestling and Garbage Pail Kids. So, and you get to do parodies, and it's a fun way to also like get involved with wrestling in some sense. Like uh, just spending time drawing wrestling. Just like whenever I paint the wrestlers on those cards, it's like
Mhm.
anything wrestling related. I just love doing it. So.
And I definitely respect that, man. I mean, if I had the talent, I would probably be doing the same thing. My wife is an artist, and she's always tried to push me to try to like, you know, do something artistic, whether it be drawing or just creating whatever. And I'm like, honey, I don't have any talent when it comes to
Man,
that.
you'd be surprised though, man. You could probably, come up with some cool looking logo or some cool design that somebody slaps on a knee pad or like, on their boots or
I don't know.
you
Maybe one
never
of these
know.
days I
You
might
never
try
know.
to branch out and do something. But sir, it's once again it's been a pleasure. And just on behalf of both myself and Dick here, I would want to thank everyone that watched this show. Uh, Coming up this weekend, I'll be on the Dead Pit channel here on YouTube where we'll be doing our WrestleManiac show and we'll be reviewing both nights of WrestleMania. So I hope everyone tunes in for that. I hope everyone enjoys WrestleMania weekend and just try to see the positive side of things. If things frustrate you in any way, just try to stay positive and just enjoy the show. But uh,
Absolutely.
but just stay tuned to the channel for other things that I may be having coming up, and be sure to like, subscribe, and click that effing bell, brother, right here on the CraterMania channel. And we'll see you next time on How I Got Into Wrestling.